You say you're so clever, but you don't speak Mandingo and you teach Mandingo people.
I don't want it.
Why?
Because it's not matter. I'm a lawman.
Yeah, but the Mandingo people accept you to teach their children.
No.
Do you teach them Loma?
Excuse me.
Do you teach them Loma?
Excuse me.
Do you teach them Loma?
No.
Why?
Because
Loma and English almost the same. They sound the same.
NGLS is what I'm.
The day is Monday. Indeed, Monday is the day. The 30th day of June 2025. And this is the OK Conversation on OKFM 99.5. My name is Julius Jeh. I am right here, sitting pretty. Yeah. We are on ground. Did you expect to hear Chinese? Certainly not. At 5 p.m., Dr. Robtel Nije Pele will be our guest. 4:30. We expect a particular school going to education to be here. We'll let you know who that is shortly. Before then, all of the things that matter. Share the video. Invite others to join in. My name is Julius Jeh. Welcome to it. Indeed, that is what it is right here on the OK Conversation on OKFM 99.5. Indeed, after fact checking everything, we'll discuss what matters. We will try to open the envelope of information. That is the Chinese envelope, the information on the Chinese envelope. What do we know? What do we think? A recap of everything we've been reporting. But right here, civic rights groups say at least 7 people have been killed during a crackdown on protesters who are calling for Togo's leader, Faure Gnassingbé, to step down and release political prisoners. Reports say dozens more people were injured, some severely. It comes weeks after Gnassingbé, who was president for 2 decades and whose family has ruled the country for 58 years, was sworn into a new post of President of the Council of Ministers, which has no official term limits. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni has sought nomination for a 7th term, ending his nearly 40-year rule, extending his nearly 40-year rule. At 80 years old, Museveni faces opposition from popular entertainer turned politician Bobby Wine ahead of the January 2026 elections. The political environment is marked by arrests of opposition figures and concerns over democratic backsliding following the removal of presidential age limits. And officials say 38 people were killed and a further 29 were injured when a bus collided with a minibus in northeastern Tanzania. The bus allegedly suffered a puncture and the driver lost control. This caused the bus to crash into the minibus. Both vehicles caught fire and were engulfed in flames. President of Tanzania, Samia Suluhu's Hassan, has sent her condolences to the families, relatives, and friends affected by the tragedy. Yes, indeed. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us where you are following from. The broadcast is right here on OKFM 99.5. We are also now live on our Facebook page. Don't be told. Join us, and be a part of it. Okay, so let us now take a step here to bring to you some of our sponsors right here. You know, being away for 2 weeks, different things have happened. Then you readjust, and then you readjust, and then you readjust. And you continue to readjust. So let's go. This break.
Your real property taxes. Your real property taxes.
My people, you don't hear it? The LRA people, the people then that can collect government taxes, they say that it's time now to pay your real estate tax. Whether you get house or you get land in a city or outside the city, the LRA people say that it's time to pay your tax from now to July 1 this year. The people from the LRA will be in your community to tell you everything you need to know. So look out for them. They will come and teach you everything you need to know about paying your taxes for your properties. Just cooperate when you see them in your community. In your knowing, when you pay tax, all of us can enjoy. When you pay your tax on your land or your house, the government will do plenty fun things for all of us. Pay tax, we all enjoy.
You can pay even when you living uptown. Your real property taxes. Your real property taxes.
Hey, they're rushing. Why are you rushing to so?
You, Judy, don't give me a hard time, man. I'm going to the bank to get my cash because the bank was so close.
You can use the ATM?
My ATM card expired ever since.
My man, you don't need ATM card. Just use the mobile app and generate an e-token. All you have to do is to just log on the app, you click on Express Cash. Then you select ATM. From there now you select Generate e-token. Then you select the account you want the money to come from. From there you select the currency that you want. If they're Liberian dollars or US dollars. Then you put in the amount that you want, whether $10 or $20, you put it in and generate your e-token. It's simple, like 8 numbers that will come to you. When you get that number, just go to any ATM. All you have to do is to just select the C Express Cash on the ATM now. The place where you're supposed to put your ATM pin, that way you pull that 8 number. Then it will ask you for the amount. That money where you generated, that money will come with the ATM will pay you.
So simple. Echo Binance for me again. Oh. I will always make use of the Express service big time. Echo Bank, the Pan-African Bank.
Yamaha CFL Mobility. Yamaha, I don't ride Yamaha, I can move in the mall on top of the sky. Yamaha, I don't ride Yamaha, I can move in the water, the quota. Yamaha, I don't ride Yamaha, I can move in the mall on top of the sky. Yamaha, I don't ride Yamaha, I can move in the water, the quota. Yamaha, Jeh, the king of the road and the giant for all of the quota. Once you all can fly on the ocean, it can take you from Ghana with motion. CFL Mobility, I can sell the original quality. The people in Sale will celebrate Yamaha breath, dropping the prices on Yamaha breath. Making the service a fully good spare by the two bananas that strap on the people that selling the commercial Yamaha motorbike. Selling a fishing boat engine, July 1st by the Yamaha birthday. Today that Yamaha birthday, we offering services, discount prices at our office in Antala. While we talking it and we're doing it bigger. Today that Yamaha birthday, July 1st by the Yamaha birthday. Today that Yamaha birthday, July 1st by the Yamaha birthday. Today that Yamaha birthday, July 1st by the Yamaha birthday. Today that Yamaha birthday. Whoa, my people, this July 1st, Yamaha Motor is celebrating 70 powerful years. In Liberia, you are invited. Come say your time just before Lockington Cinema for a one-of-a-kind celebration. Yamaha is more than just motorcycle. We are powering land and water. Check out our strong, fuel-efficient Yamaha motorbike built for Liberia's road, reliable for your hustle, and now available at special discount prices. Trust my level, Yamaha Lana play. And for our river communities and business people, Yamaha world-class boat engines are ready for you too. Yamaha get boat engines that are very powerful, trusted worldwide, and they are now available in Liberia. Do you need servicing or you need spare parts? Forget about it. Yamaha get your solution on July 1st. Just check out our Seyon Town office before Lockington Cinema. You will see Yamaha building. You check there on the 1st of July. From the morning to the afternoon or the evening, you will see the people doing services at our special anniversary discount prices. Yamaha Motors on the road and on the river, we move forward quietly.
Are you a driver? Do you have a ride? Want to make some extra cash? Say no more, because we've got you covered. Omuta has arrived. The best drivers app to ever hit Liberia, with over 1 million riders just waiting for you. Join the train right now and don't be left out. Drive at your own convenient time. Drive whenever it suits you. Drive on the weekdays. Drive on the weekends. Drive in the evening. Make driving work around your lifestyle. The good news is you get paid every day. Every time you drive, you get money. So don't be left out. Rush now and get your Omuta app on Google Play and Apple Store. It's ORMUTA. Omuta, the best driver app connecting Liberia. So don't be left out. Join the Omuta family right now and make some cash. Let's roll, baby. Let's roll, baby. Are you a driver? Do you have a ride? Want to make some extra cash? Say no more, because we've got you covered.
Welcome back. Welcome back. The OK Conversation is right here. Let's now join our partners, Local Voices Liberia, for the Fact Check segment. That's where we're starting from.
Good day and welcome to the Fact Check segment. The segment debunks disinformation and it provides the verified facts of statements made online and on the radio. My name is Siawe Miapu and today we'll be fact-checking claims made in the last couple of days. To begin with, on June 25, Abulai Mame, a panelist on Spoon Talk, listed several African countries claiming that they operate port authorities. A port authority is an agency of government responsible for managing and overseeing the operations, development, and security of a port or group of ports. Mame made this claim while describing a recent port autonomy bill passed by the National Legislature as a bad law. The Port Autonomy Bill aims to grant all ports in Liberia independence in managing their own operations, finances, governance, and strategic decisions, thereby eliminating interference from central government authorities. Mr. Mame named Morocco, South Africa, Benin, etc. as some of the countries in Africa that operate port authorities. While naming the countries, Mame claimed that Agency Nationale des Ports, or ANP, which is the Port Authority of Morocco, manages all 26 ports in the country. We have verified this claim and found it to be incorrect. The Agence Nationale des Ports of Morocco manages 33 ports, excluding the port of Tangamed, a mega complex composed of 3 distinct port zones, managed by the Tangamed Port Authority under the umbrella of Tangamed Special Agency. Also on the program, Mame claimed that the Port Autonomy de Cotonou in Benin manages all the ports in Benin. We have also verified this claim and found it to be misleading, as the Port Autonomy de Cotonou is an autonomous body that manages the one and only main commercial port in the country, which is the Port of Cotonou. In Benin, there are other coastal seaports, Lesimi and Porto Novo, plus inland ports at Bohiko and Glasgow, which operate under different structures with varying levels of management and autonomy. Mame also claimed on June 27 on Spoon Talk that the office of former First Lady Clark Weah was allotted $500,000 in the 2019-2020 national budget. He made his claim while highlighting how such offices have often been used as avenues for bribery and other questionable practices. To verify this claim, we review the 2019-2020 national budget, which Mame referenced. Our search found no allocation to the office of the First Lady in the fiscal year with budget code 1013. However, we discovered that during the 2017-2018 fiscal year, the government allocated $500,000 to the office of the former First Lady for humanitarian outreach with a budget code of 1013. Based on these findings, we conclude that the claim made by Mame that the office of the former First Lady received $500,000 in the 2019-2020 budget is mostly correct, while he got his facts right about the allocation to the office of the former First Lady, he is incorrect about the budget year. The former First Lady's office was allotted US $500,000 in the 2017-2018 fiscal year. This is all we have time for on the Fact Check segment. This segment is part of an MOU between Local Voices Liberia, OKFM, Prime FM, and Kel Radio to counter disinformation to help the public make informed decisions. This MOU is funded by the Liberia Media Empowerment Project implemented by Internews with fundings from the European Union. The funder or partner had no say in the editorial decision leading to the production of this Fact Check segment. We'll be back with more Fact Check reports to help you know the facts. But if you want us to fact check a claim for you, please send us a text to WhatsApp on 0777 556296 and we will check for you. Also follow us on Facebook at Local Voices Liberia, on X at LVL Fact Check, and go to our website at www.localvoicesliberia.com. I am Siawe Miapu. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
And welcome. This is the OK Conversation on OKFM 99.5. My name is Julius Jeh, and we are right here. Okay, so yeah, welcome to it. A lot of things have been happening. We've been out and all of that. Well, I wanted to begin with this that was written by somebody, and it captures a whole lot about ourselves, about who we are, Yep. And I'm going to read that. Everybody will take their part. It's like the pastor preaches a sermon. Everybody has a part to take from there. So you don't use the shovel method. The shovel method is where you say, that's not me. It is this other person. When they say rogue, you say, no, I can steal. This other person can steal. So it is the person you're talking about. and all that kind of thing. This one, everybody will have their part to play inside. Hmm? So, let's do this. Let's read it. Let's read it out. And then we'll rumble into everything else we're supposed to do. It's a very important message. You know? It's a very, very important message for all of us. Okay. Aye. Message no one open. Okay. This person is called Doris Myers. That's the name of the person. Doris Myers. And this person wrote this. It has got how many shares? 582 shares on Facebook. I don't know who the person is, but I think their message is on point. The person describes herself as founder at Lesat Africa, TVET and STEM enthusiast, architect, student recruiter, writer, philanthropist. Okay, so the title of it is Who's Killing Liberia? Who's killing Liberia? Who's doing it? Who's killing this Liberia here? So let me read what she has to say. The blame for what Liberia has become falls squarely on you and me. Our wickedness stinks to the high heavens as we go about our daily lives, pulling down everyone and everything just to become rich. We import substandard products, fake drugs, and expired baby food unfit for human consumption. We poison our people and destroy our environment without remorse. We steal from widows, orphans, and refugees, taking what little they have and selling it for personal gain. No conscience. No fear of God. Nothing is sacred. We even go as far as killing our own friends and relatives just to seize their hard-earned properties, lands, and inheritance. Greed has turned us into monsters. We value property more than people. We throw garbage on the streets, refuse to paint our homes, and allow overgrown grass and filth to surround our houses. This reminds me now. I just came back, and the grass around my area is all grown. Trying to find the guy who does it, who does the cutting. We won't fix the road leading to our gates, but we'll sit and wait for the government to do it. The dirt is killing us, and still we do nothing. We have gotten used to people walking in impunity, no shame, no consequence. Even worse, we support corruption and wrongdoing simply because it directly benefits us. We cheer for thieves when they are our relatives. We vote for crooks when they are our tribe. We close our eyes to injustice if it feeds our pockets. No one is spared. Our architects, engineers, and contractors build substandard roads, schools, houses, and hospitals, cutting corners and putting lives at risk, all for profit. And life, once lost, cannot be bought with all the money or contract kickbacks. You think this behavior is reserved for Zogos. You think this behavior is reserved for Zogos. But no! These acts are committed by churchgoers, Muslims, husbands, wives, and sadly, the youth. People who look respectable but act no better than street criminals. We have perfected the act of perverting justice, pretending we don't know right from wrong just to protect our selfish interests. We loot Liberia and dump the money in foreign banks everywhere but home. We are wickedness personified, dripping with hatred and greed, and we pass it down to our children. We are building a nation of broken hearts and bitter minds. We say we are religious with Ramadan, fasting, night vigils, and deliverance services all year long. But the real problem is us. We refuse to love, to forgive, to put others before ourselves, as both the Bible and Quran command. Instead, it's me, me, me. That's all that ever matters. Here's the painful truth. We lie on our resumes, cheat on exams, bribe our way through school, and still expect a better country. We litter our streets, clog our own drainages, then blame the government when floods come. We vote for tribe, not merit. We steal electricity, sell stolen fuel, and yet call ourselves patriotic. We overcharge fellow Liberians but offer discounts to foreigners, killing our own economy. We demand bribes for basic services and refuse to work unless there's something in it for us. We abandon our jobs doing work hours to run side businesses or gossip. We bully and shame others online for attention, ignoring our own deep flaws. We worship thieves, mock the poor, and celebrate mediocrity. We build no libraries, write no books, create no solutions, but complain about illiteracy. We idolize pastors and politicians more than truth, humility, and service. We stir tribal division, use politics to destroy one another, and profit from conflict. And yet we wonder, who is killing Liberia? It is us. All of us. Any Christian or Muslim who cannot love others has no business in politics, government, or even living in a land that calls itself the land of liberty. Until we face this truth and take responsibility, we will continue on this path of destruction. But there is hope. I can change. You can change. They can change. We can change by sharing this message, by living it, and by rebuilding our moral foundation. Let us reclaim our nation. Let us heal our land. Let us finally enjoy our sweet land of liberty. If this message speaks to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Someone needs to read this. Someone needs to reflect. So I have read for all of us to hear. Doris Myers. Self-explanatory. It's very clear. Some way, somehow, it speaks to all of us. And at every point in time, when reality hits you, you are required to take a step back and reflect and see. Okay, a whole lot has been happening, but as tradition demands, we will have to tell you exactly how this whole trip went, what it was about, what did we observe, and all of that. Now, so on this day, it was after the show I had gone home. I was sitting right in front of my place, right to the doorway, and then I got this call. It was from the vice president. You know, when he was representative and he was senator, we talked a lot. I hosted him a lot. Sometimes we'll debate different things, you know. But, you know, when people assume those higher positions, you know, you don't just call them. You just call you here and there and blah, blah, blah. You know. So I see the phone ringing. I'm like, okay. It says, an answer. he asked that there was this governmental trip to China to do some searching and side analysis and whatsoever of this whole yellow machine thing, and that he wanted me to be one of the media people on the trip. Okay, I said, okay. So I needed to carry my passport, submit it somewhere the next day. I said, okay, I'm here. So the next day I conferred with my boss, Clarence, and of course he was already aware of it. They had held the conversation already. So yeah. So wherever we needed to carry passport, we did. And that process kicked off. I had to go to Chinese embassy and all that thing. Yeah, so that's how we went. But I agreed to go. One, I'm one of those who raised critical questions, not necessarily being against, but raised critical questions about the whole yellow machine thing, how it started, the procurement questions, and all the critical things. We talked about them here. We highlighted them, of course. A whole lot of you did not like it. You disagreed with us, but we stood the ground that what was happening did not need to happen, that there were issues. So I agreed to go. Of course, we went. I left full disclosure, right? Yeah. So, interestingly, there is a policy of government that limits, say, the president insisted on this policy. That's why we're to insisted on foreign travels allowance being for 7 days. So if you're traveling internationally on a government trip, it's for 7 days. But the duration of this trip, as you all know, was around 2 weeks or so. So beyond that, according to government, no matter who you are, you take care of yourself. So this trip here we went for DSA was 7 days. So previously, from the Sir Leave time, no, it wasn't like that. In fact, the daily subsistence allowance, the DSA, was very high then. I heard the officials discussing that the previous administration, so it was very high, the Sir Leave time, and there was no restriction on number of days that government could support you being there. The previous administration cut down on how much, but there was not a limitation on number of days, as I'm told, but they cut down the DSA. So different countries have different rates, but they cut that down. This administration carried it up a bit, according to the officials I listened to talking on the trip, but then place a limitation on the number of days government can support you for. Yeah, times high, easy money based high, all that stuff. So that's the policy, yeah. So when people travel on government trips, especially ones that they will go beyond 7 days, do not think they get money. They get plenty of money. Allah. Yeah. Not my first time traveling with. It's not my first time, The Sir Leave government, the UNGA minister, then Foreign Minister Augustine Gaffon, it was good. It was very good. It was financially very rewarding. Yeah. Very, 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 very good. It was 15 days we spent in the US. I can tell you it was good. CDC time with Minister McGill, we went, it came down. It was not very good. Yeah, it came down. This one year was not very good financially. So don't be thinking, say, people get money. No, it is a little up, but there's restriction on number of days. So we spend more than 14 days. So all the other things you got to take care of yourself. So by the time you're coming back, you're just looking at you coming. Yeah? So let's clear that part. But you may think it is not fair to those traveling. Yeah. But I can also understand where it came from. So there cannot be that much anger. It's like trying to restrict you now so you don't stay along where you go. But this one had to be that way because of the nature of it. Now, so the intent of the trip, according to the government delegation, was for them to assess, to see the facilities and capacity and quality of machines that 3 companies have placed in unsolicited bids. That is, the government did not tell them, say, come and bid or come and bid. But they decided that, okay, we need to bid for this. The Liberian government is doing this, and we need to bid for it. So the questions are, but this was presented like a done deal, right? It was supposed to be a done deal. Now, how can we hear about people bidding and all that kind of thing? Why should people be bidding on something that appears to be a done deal? So, based on what I saw and listened to and analysis and all of that, it is a realization of the government that we are proceeding wrongly. Whether they agree or they agree, that's how I understand it. And it's important to make this point. When the VP called, he did not say, oh, can't go talk for government, or can't go talk for anyone, blah, blah. He said, we want to like bring people to know what is happening. The transparency around what we do. That's why he said. And I think people like you will be able to make them know exactly what is happening. That was all. So everything that I saw, that I know, that I understood, is what I would say. Of course, no one can tell me, say, oh, talking this way. It's impossible. It has never been possible. So we're talking just the way it is. So the way I understand it, the government realized it, the way it's going, there could be future consequences. And I will tell you why there is evidence to prove why I think this way. We have to right the wrong. Going too fast. So I'll slow down and make this thing right. You all remember the very high figures? It is something million, then somewhere around 40 something, then 20 days and blah, blah, blah. So my understanding is when the president had held a conversation, we talked a whole lot of sources, a conversation about, they say he reminisced, he thought about the past and said, we used to have public work yards in the counties and all of that. I think we need to bring that back. We need to bring a whole lot of machines and blah, blah, blah. We have to, as a government, we have to do this. President wants to do stuff. Some very overzealous people want to do stuff to accomplish the president's aim. Boom, whatever deal they jump into, the 80-something million thing you heard about, and some of the yellow machines that came impressionistically, was to say, okay, the president's mandate is being implemented. And you all remember the whole situation of the presentation at the cabinet retreat, I think at the ministerial complex, and all the other things that happened. Those were the wrong things that were happening. And then others stepped in from government itself, listening to critics, to analysts, to different concerns from across the aisle, from different business people. Then they stepped in. They started to do their own analysis. And they realized that, this could be too high, this could be too high. And you remember after that time, the president set up the infrastructural committee headed by the vice president. They themselves started to run their own analysis and do all those kinds of things back and forth. Different things happened, different meetings with different companies and back and forth here and there. Companies were willing to bring it down. So the president said, but if these people are willing to come from way up here to come here, that means it can still go down. So there are business people in government, people who have business acumen, acumen. I didn't say argument, acumen, A-C-U-M-E-N. and all those things. So they ran their analysis and they say, we do not think the country needs to spend more than 22 million on this whole thing, given what we know. Some of us have been able to buy these things. We don't think we can spend more than 22 million. So if we give this thing out for anybody to bring this, they have to conform to our analyzed price. Cap 22 million. So you either can below or within. So when these companies say, but we are able to do this, then the government said, led by the vice president, said, well, we need to see what we need to come and see what you have. And what do you have on offer? Let the Liberian people know. Let them see clearly. We want to come with media people. Yeah. Let them be able to show to the public exactly what you are. Let them know what is happening. So, one, it was to fix something that has started on a wrong footing. That is my analysis. That's my understanding of it. So we went. Got in Beijing. The same night we flew out to Changsha. That was the first city we went to. And that is where Sany, S-A-N-Y, I know you've seen some Sany machines around. They have their headquarters there. So we went to their facilities. We showed you the different videos. Media people went live. We spoke about those on the radio. The vice president team, they held conversations with them. In that conversation, the evidence I was talking about that it appeared to me, they were trying to right the wrong, was that he said clearly that another government may come after us. We want value for money for our people. So this is why we came. So that we will see what you have and what you're able to offer, if it is something that we can go by. If this is something that we can go by, that's how we are here. But we want value for money. And we want, if this is this, that's what the government should spend money on. We don't want to overspend. He said all of those. A whole lot of you watched. You heard those and all that. So Sany toured us around. I mean, they are a manufacturing plant, and saw workers and everything else. We left from there. We went to Shandong province. Shandong is one of the very, very opulent, very rich provinces. You know, China is the way we have counties, they have provinces. And Shandong province has the Shandong group. So Sany is more or less like a private company. But Shandong group is a state-owned enterprise. It's an SOE. The way we have, how do you call them? LTA, MPA, LPRC, SOEs, you know, that's how they have Shandong Group. So Shandong Group is a mother company for a whole lot of other companies that make up the Shandong Group, but it is the province that owns them. The Chinese government owns them through the province. So they have Shantui, they have Sinotruk, and they have different other subsidiaries that do a whole lot of stuff. In Shandong province, they gave the VPA's team a stately welcome. You know, from the time we landed at Jinin's airport. Jinin is one of the cities there. You had the security escort, you had the officials on ground, they were blocking their traffic from moving until we passed. So yeah, we went to the facilities of Shantui. You saw it live. We show you videos of how they were compiling the machines, putting them together, and everything else. We left from Guinea. We went to the capital of Shandong province, which is Jinan. We've not heard about all these cities from China until you went there. We didn't know about Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou. Those are the places you really hear about. Not Jinan. So we went to Jinan, and the next day we visited other facilities of those companies. They produce different machines. They produce trucks. They produce vehicles. They produce water equipment. You want to talk about yachts? They produce yachts. They produce boats and all those kinds of things. They produce agricultural equipment as well. We toured them. Then we went to Qingdao. Qingdao is another city. And all of these cities, their populations are in 9 million, 10 million, and all of that. Their GDP is way up there. So we went to Qingdao. Qingdao is where, those of you who drink alcohol, Qingdao. It is where the headquarters of Qingdao is. So that Qingdao there is another name for the city. It's like the nickname of the city. This nickname is Qingdao. So it's in Qingdao that Qingdao comes from. We went there. We visited their port facility. One of the very best automated ports on the planet. Yeah. A whole lot of the things you don't see car carrying container there, all of that. They're automated. You see AI at work. Yeah? They're loading the ship. You see the things they're carrying. You see human being driving to carry it there and put it. No. The thing they're doing it by itself. Yeah. We visited all of those facilities. The VP held a meeting with the head of the province, the governor of the province. And then there was this big investor forum that he addressed. He also spoke at that forum. The details of the meeting, we were not part of the meeting, but when he came out, he told us in that interview that, they talk about building stronger relations, being able to cooperate in the areas that will be mutually beneficial to both Liberia and that province, and even furthering on China's relationship with Liberia. A whole lot of other conversations were held, and then went to the final area where a company that is also we believe, a subsidiary of Caterpillar. They also are. So all of these companies have different things they have to offer. What we understand from Sani is, they're able to give the machines for that price, but that is it. The machines, they may not have one key machine component that they could get from others. What we understand from Shandong is like, they can sell the machines. They can do some other things, spare parts involved, training of people who operate them and all of that involved in that package. We also understand from the other company, that they're able to give machines at that price. So now, it is going to be left with the Public Works Ministry now, who is the sector lead on that, to see who can win the bid. Because they have seen, the Public Works Minister was there, an Assistant Minister of the Finance Ministry was there, the GSA Deputy Director was there, support staff from these different areas were also there. So they know what they saw. They know what could be good for the country. But from a layman understanding and given what I saw, it's like the Shandong group could be in poor position. One, because they are state-owned. Two, because they have a whole range of things that they do. And they seem to be more reliable in terms of future partnerships and all those kinds of things. So, who knows? They could be in poor position. But as it stands, that is what it was about. So we've been able to give you exactly what happened there and open it up to you. One thing that did not happen, we were pushing for an interview with the vice president, a clemency interview, because there were few questions I really wanted to ask. Yeah. But for some reason, it didn't happen. And I don't know why, but I think it should have happened. One, does the government really admit that they made mistakes from the beginning? Yeah, they have to go on record to admit that there were errors, there were mistakes. Two, why isn't anybody penalized for the mistakes? Because they were actually going to be costly mistakes. Those are key things. If there were errors from the beginning, if you admit that there were errors, why isn't anybody penalized? Or will anybody be penalized as a result of these errors? So, as it stands, depending on what Public Works does, after all of what has been seen, and contract negotiations and the signed documents and all of that, then we will get to the point now where you will say, once the government and any of these companies agree, then the companies now will say, okay, we have this, we can produce this in this time, and then your machines can start coming. So no, the intent of the trade was not to go bring yellow machine. The intent was to see what is on offer, to hold further discussions with these companies, and then to inform the government on how do we now enter into this negotiation so that these machines can come. So the government is optimistic that between now and the end of the year, they should be able to consummate all of these things and for machines to start showing face. That is how upbeat they are. They were talking about having some money in the budget. Because the other thing here too is, from what I understand and from what I've seen, the government does not have 22 million right now on hand to give anybody, say, 22 million, boom, for all the machines to come. So they're also looking into conversations about, how they call it, arranged payments. That will pay this percentage now, will pay this percentage. And some of the companies, or one of the companies, seem to be willing for that kind of arrangement. Maybe you pay 25 or 50% upfront, and the machines start coming. After some years, also 1 or 2 years, you pay the balance. Yeah, those kinds of negotiations are all part of it. So we hope it all goes well. You know, because at the end of the day, as we always say, for some of us, we're very keen on the issue of sustainable road development. We may not be able to pave all of the roads across the country, but one, it's always been plans of Liberian governments to connect the 15 capitals. That's important. Connecting of the 15 capitals in the counties. But equally so, it's not to neglect the other people. You know, the rural parts. Constant maintenance of the roads. Constant maintenance of the roads. Very, very important. Especially the rainy season now. Some of the roads are still good, but some are already deteriorating. They're getting bad. So having these equipment following the right processes, you know, now that they are following, or they are seemingly following, it is important that when they come, they will address these challenges. the issues of maintenance are also part of the discussion, because in Liberia, sometimes we are very good at buying new things and having new things, feel good about it, whether it's clothes or whatever, even on the national level. But maintenance, to take care of things, is an issue. So they're supposed to be, I'm understanding the government is pushing for that to be in the package, 1 or 2 years maintenance. And then training of people who will operate them and mechanics and all of that to be there. Spare parts, they want all of that in the 22 million package. And I think, from my own observation, you know, for me, I don't just go places. I observe, I listen, I pay keen attention to very important things. I think because the VP has been a business person, perhaps that's why the president said, I think I should throw him in front of this. He will be able to speak that kind of language. So in the 22 million, the government wants, not just a machine out of it. They want spare parts to come from there. They want maintenance for a year or two to come from there. As add-ons, they want training of people to come from there. And the Shandong seems ready to do those kinds of things. And in fact, to foster relations in other areas like agriculture, because they also do agricultural equipment, water, you're talking about fisheries sector, and all those kinds of things. The conversations were good. They look promising. However, there has always been a key Achilles heel of governments, and that has to do with follow-ups. So we hope that the follow-ups will be strong, the conversations will continue strongly, and that the transparency will continue, and that the best company can be chosen for this process. Very, very important. Because at the end of the day, we want to develop the country. It has to be. For far too long, we've cried about roads. Just coming to Ouagadougou, right around here, Johnson and Benson Street intersection. That place is already damaging. I have been driving around since I came. Some of the roads in the communities are already deplorable. Why do we have rocks? These are some of the sad conversations we're having. Why do we have a whole lot of rocks? And in our own country, we're buying rocks. Rocks? Do you know that we have a whole lot of rocks all over the place? So perhaps in that package, the government should include the rock crusher, the rock crushing machine. Because I think they also, I was hearing that the Shandong is willing to give some trucks as well. So it will not be a bad thing for us to have our own rock crushing machine, so that we'll not be buying rocks from other people. The government got the land, the rocks all over the place, crush the rocks, put them in trucks and put them on these community roads, on the other roads that cannot be paved. It is more sustainable, even from a non-engineering perspective, right? It's more sustainable. Some of these community roads are spoiling. You pass here now, you have these potholes, some gutters and mud all over the place. If you have these things in place, the government has rock crushing machines in maybe they can say 4 sub-regions of the country. So you crush the trucks, go for the rocks. Those places that are bad, they put it there. Vehicles move as we try to connect the 15 capitals with paved roads. We do that one, and then we move on and start to do these other community roads and all of that. Development has to be sustained. Yeah, the resources are, it's not easy. But most importantly, I have seen when a group of people are sick and tired of being sick and tired, when they really want to get things done, they can get it done. And that is the spirit. Look, that thing we have been on here, we say, oh, Chinese thing and Chinese this and that. Do not be fooled. I do not believe China is a developing country. I cannot agree with anybody. And this is someone who lived more than a year in Europe. This is someone who spent 15 days in America. This is someone who has been to Israel. China is extremely very developed. Extremely. And like I said, I was observing to see if I would see like cheap buildings, if I would see cheap materials in the hotels, if I would see disorganization, you know, if I would see haphazard things, if I would see them wearing, you know, cheap things and all those kinds of things. That lie. I observed a whole lot of. They are extremely time conscious, extremely on the dot. So they inform their citizens, say, there is a VIP in town by 8 a.m. will be on the road from year to year. It will take us this time and blah, blah, blah. So be aware that traffic will be blocked. You will not be able to access this road from 8 o'clock to 8:15 because between 8 o'clock and 8:15 we'll be transporting the VIP from this point to this point. And that's what it will be. If you're wasting time in your hotel room, we'll leave you behind. We left people behind. Time consciousness. That is how developed societies are. These people have gone far. And that's why I think it was okay that I was there. So when I was posting some of those things, I was just trying to show you that the perception you may have about people, that they are this and that may be extremely very different. So I asked the other guys about why do you accept to be called a developing country? Because you are not developing. You're well developed, and you are doing things that some of the countries that call themselves developed countries are not even doing. The fast trains and you all saw that green road that I posted. Eh? You see buildings in China. You see, I lived in the UK. Cardiff cannot compare to Qingdao in terms of infrastructure. It cannot. And Cardiff is in Wales in the UK, a very developed country. Eh? So what can we? How can that kind of spirit come upon us? That kind of desire to be excellent, to be different. So I asked the guy, well, why do you accept to be called developing? Because you're developed. I said, well, maybe we still need to do more, and that is it. We still need to do more. Then I also realized their honesty. So you go to buy, they'll tell you this is the original. I'm not taking course. I'll come to you shortly. They'll tell you this is the original. This is the copy. They'll be clear with you, and the prices you see it clear. So they don't use the copy things and blah, blah, blah. See hotels. See roads. See apartment buildings. High rises. 30-story building, people living inside. 25-story buildings, blah, blah, blah. Because there are so many. How did they do that? Years ago, decades ago, they weren't there. We saw trucks washing the streets in cities. Yes, they can wash your streets. The truck, they come with the water, wash the street. I was checking to see if I would see Barrow. You can't see Barrow. But they're always on the road trying to any kind of lay issue. You see they are own of public works. I think we can get there. But I also believe we have to hold ourselves accountable. That's why we have to hold governments accountable. That's why we have to demand for them to do the right things, the best things. We cannot be okay with mediocrity. We cannot be complacent. Say, at least it won't happen. No. We have to demand the best out of them. And in a conversation, the VP said that. Someone said, the way Julius can deal with it. He said, but it's okay. These people have been helping the government. Because if people not talking, they will do plenty of wrong things. But you know, when you president, you vice president, you minister, you director, if you want to do something, you know, say there are people like Julius Jeh and others that when they hear it, they will talk it, they will critique you. You put yourself in order. So it's okay for the society. It's okay. They're helping us to do well. They're putting us on track. Obviously, we are human beings. We'll make mistakes. People have to talk it. He said that. And I think that's why they invited me to be on a trip. And I will be. I will always be. No change. You do the right thing with talking. You do the wrong thing with talking. You can be my man or you my pa. Yeah? Yeah. You gotta get used to it. So I can just be laughing when I see your comments. Yeah. You're gonna be government spokesperson. Blah blah blah. Okay, we are. Yeah? Do the right things, we'll talk it. Do the wrong things, we'll critique, we'll report, we'll analyze. All in all, we pray for the best for our country because, let me tell you, if we have good roads, you can easily, it's difficult to get land in Monserrato and pass adjacent. But from your county, for example, we come from Maryland, Lofa, Nimba, blah, 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 all these places. You know, it's easier for Nimba people to go back to home to get farm, to get plantation, and blah, 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 because of a good road. It's easier for Bassa people to do that. Do you know most of the very beautiful places in this country are out of here? I'm talking about natural beauty that could be further developed to enhance the tourism. You need roads to get there. Have you seen the long stretch of beach from Monserrato all the way to Maryland? Do you know we have a whole lot that we can benefit from? It is that desire, that push to get things done. And we can get there if we all rally around. We should be able to do that. You need your people to work, to have jobs. You don't hear those people. You don't hear them talking politics. No, you don't. Not a hint. You know, like I said, I observe. I just observe. I pay keen attention. You don't drag them into talking anything about politics. People are so busy doing different things. When you have job to do, you focus on it. So when we have all of these openings up and you engage the population and people become independent, that they can earn for themselves. And that's why it was disappointing. Extremely. You know, reading, hearing people condemning a senator for pushing for the issue of jobs that the government through public works gave to foreigners, young people, a whole lot of them jobless. So, like, I was like, oh, yeah. So, anyway, when we hear anything that happens, we know how to put things in order. So we hear. Thanks to Chokon Wurepu, who held this ground very well, very, very well. Very impressive, brilliant young man. He's currently in Senegal, covering an ECOWAS meeting that is taking place there. So we will hear from him tomorrow on this show to tell us exactly what is happening there. So that is that. But you don't need to behave. You don't need to think, man. Eh? How do you jump on somebody's back for saying something that is in your interest? All of us have been on this From time to time, from government to government, we keep pushing for more jobs to go to Liberians, for you to be able to earn a living. And you get vexed because you want to talk about it? Or because the person who is the minister, the sector minister, is under fire? He should be under fire. He should do his job. He should take it seriously. When people critique or require people to do the job they should do, it is not that they hate them. It is the fact that it is what they are supposed to do. If the economy is not performing well, the finance minister, the CBL governor, and all those people concerned, the economic management team should be under pressure. They should be. The president should be putting them under pressure. If the president isn't, we put the president under pressure and them to do what is right. If the educational sector is not performing, that's what it is. If health isn't, that's what it should be. It is not that you hate them. Nobody hates anybody here. Yeah? When people go in lines and vote for you, they put you there to do something, and it is that thing the president appoints people to do. You have to do it. There cannot be any event. That's why you are paid. You have to do it. Anyways, so that was it. Tomorrow, a whole lot of other things have happened. You know, we don't dress away. So as time goes by, you will hear from us. 777-700-995, 555-995-995. The numbers to call. Let's see who's right here. Welcome. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good afternoon, Julius. Frank Gibson, I call from Paris.
Go ahead, Frank.
Julius, because today are too much talking here, the people not getting a 2 weeks DSA. The people actually giving a 2 weeks DSA, but because you were there, so they limited to 7
no,
days.
man. No. I am told no, that one not true. But so you think I said I didn't deserve my other week DSA?
No, they actually wanted to get a 2 thing, the 2 weeks issue, but because you there when you come, you were talking, so they said no, they put it to 7 because you already know the government says 7. So
no. I didn't know. I didn't have that information. I didn't know that it had been cut down to not more than 7 days. I didn't know. So when they gave the thing and the man looking small, so I said but they trip you what they say that 13, 14 days. That they trip money looking just like that. Well, looking at it, can't even carry me for 5 days. When they later on to realize that the preso mandate you can boy God above 7 days. So that's it. But go ahead.
Julius, actually on a serious note, you know, road development is very important. Julius, when I bought my land to Johnsonville, I paid $400 US for 1 lot because there was no road going to that particular place. But when the road developed, 2019, when I got back there and they told me lands are now sold for 1,000 plus, I was shocked because the road had been paved. So actually, I was very, very hopeful that the vice president was going to come down with some of the yellow machines. Because the area he bought to Quaker there, at my area, Quaker, the place he's building there, the road had spoiled. I thought he was going to bring some of the yellow machine to pave that road from Parker Corner all the way to Quaker, where his wife is building a very beautiful compound around there. So now you're talking about the machine not coming. I don't know how soon will this machine come. At least for the vice president to pave that road. That Quaker road is very important.
Well, so like I said, it is a process. They will have to complete the procurement process, and once they sign the deal with the company.
That small project, the vice president is carrying Quaker
road. But I want part of our topic again. Are you?
I'm talking about the road that leads to that.
Yeah, but you keep emphasizing project. You keep emphasizing project. Are you trying to do church politic?
No, on the road are leading. The road sport, Julius.
Okay, thanks.
The road sport.
Thanks so kindly, Frank Gibson. Let's take more calls right here. Welcome. Let's hear you. What's your name?
Yeah. My name is Jonathan Essence Senior, and I call from Front Street. Judah, thank you for the show, man. Thank you for what you do for country. Judah, but what I have, the problem I got with us as Liberians, we do not want to accept people who will say the right thing or the truth, who will tell people truth in their faces. Then people will hate you, and it's just wrong. So I listened to the letter that you read, Doreen Meyer, the letter you wrote. That letter referred to all of us.
Yeah.
All of us, we are responsible for what is happening to our country. So today people are being voted for when they're not doing the right thing, when you disagree with them. You see people, you see people lashing at people, talking to people. So we will vote for people, they will not do what is necessary for our country. It is a wrong for us. See what you saw in the people country. Then people can say there will say China not develop or China developing country. What? See our country.
Don't be
For 18 they say up to
nobody
now.
should fool you. China far off. They pass are plenty of those so-called developed countries.
The people far up. You said you check for Bible, you didn't see none. You didn't see none because what? The people ready for that country. But see, all of us we corrupt in this country. All of us we can no one here perfect. We in Sunday morning you see people take power, they go to the church. We're not even Judah. We one day I told you that we just but one day God will bring somebody, then he said no, God will just have a leader that will have mind for this country that will develop our country because Judah can tell you for free.
Can you start developing that mind? Perhaps you could be the one.
Yes, Judah, for some of us who had the mind, we got that mind. Even where we live, we try to tell people we're supposed to do so. People get fed for us. When we say that, people just feel we hate them. No, we all can live in a place and we keep a place dirty. You tell somebody they get fed with you. Live in a community, you decide to keep your community clean. People will say they may just feel like you know everything. You see how like when we operate, we are very wicked to ourselves. Okay. We are very wicked.
Thanks.
Thank you for the show.
Thanks.
God be with you, man.
Okay, thanks so kindly. Let's see who's on this side. I'm coming. Let me put you on speaker. No, that's not what I wanted to do. This person was here before. Okay, welcome. Let's hear you, sir. Yes, go ahead.
How you doing?
Mr. George Wisner, let's hear you.
Thank you. And I'm excited that, for the experience that you've had. And I see, certainly I agree with you if you want to define development from the context of infrastructure. Yes, you can place China up there amongst the developed countries of the world. But the thing about it, as an instructor of development studies and area, we look at development much more than infrastructure. Probably that's why China and other countries who want to consider themselves still developing. I know over the last decade or two, China has been able to lift over 300 million people from poverty. But when we are talking about development, we thought that infrastructure is one, but it's more about the human person. We look at the quality of life of the people. We look at their ability to exercise personal freedoms and liberty. We look at their life expectancy. We look at the income per capita of the country. So you put all of those together.
Yeah,
in short, a country may have all of the infrastructures, but yet the citizens might not be enjoying the quality of life. Hence, that country might not be considered a developed country in the context of human development.
Yeah, I certainly know. I'm aware we had that discussion. I have a counter argument to that, but I will actually publish my counter argument. But thanks so kindly, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay. Welcome. Let's hear you.
David Coty, my name.
Go ahead, sir.
Welcome back. If you don't want to give us some of your money, the damn, just leave it. But all I think you're talking here, no water.
That's true. As your people in government, as your friends, that's the mandate. Not more than 7 days. Ask them.
That's all right. That's all right. But the one you got, you can still get us more.
No, nothing, leader. I beg you.
Okay, your second caller is saying that he's praying for a leader that will come one day to develop this country. Don't look too far. We have him now. He's already here. Joe Boyka is the leader. And I can tell everybody, the election of the Uncle Joe was destined by God himself. So don't even look further anymore to say, you can see what's happening now. Having his vice president going to China to seek for development machines. And the development president is already here, so don't look too far.
Okay.
I just called to say thanks to you for your nice reporting. I think we got some understanding as to what's happening.
Okay. Thanks so kindly, sir. Let's see who's right here. Our guests, inshallah, will go to them. Welcome. Let's hear you.
Thank you
I'm fine. What's her name?
My name is Amara M. Fofana.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let me see this opportunity to say welcome to the workaholic vice president and the entire team that went further on behalf of the country. And Julius, let me say thanks for your preferment to have been part of that, and also choosing to enlighten Liberians about some of what you saw. Now, what we've been actually speculating around here about China and other things from China. But here is the issue, Julius. The biggest gratitude go to the Almighty for allowing us at this time to have President Bouaka as the leader of this country, to enable young people to be able to exploit the opportunity in other countries to bring the good ideas back. I will lay on this note, Julius. Julius, to develop any society, even a family, the human resource capacity has to be developed first. And this is why you have seen our president is doing everything possible to empower Liberians when it comes to the human resource capacity, the University of Liberia, other technical schools, other vocational schools. Because when a mindset is built positively, trust me, people will be creative, people will be encouraged to always engage in productivity. So we pray God that patriotism will increase in the mindset, then loyalty to an individual.
Okay. Thanks so kindly. Two more quickly. Welcome. Let's hear you.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead. Let's hear you.
Yes, good afternoon, Julius. My name is Ibrahim Sakama. I'm calling you from Zuba Camp behind the football field.
Go ahead.
I want to say thank you for the show and welcome back to Liberia. I have the opportunity listening to two persons that made the trip, you and Diamond from Spoon FM. And I listened to two of you explanation. I want to say thank you so much for the analysis. On the issue of the development of China, you spoke like an eyewitness. But on the issue of the actual trip you made, you spoke like you were told, because I'm listening to all of your analysis and I'm analyzing word by word your analysis.
Hello? Hello? I'm seeing that you're still on the line. Hello? Okay. Let's come on this side. Okay, that one went off. You're still on the line, but I don't know why your voice isn't coming up. Welcome. Let's hear you.
Good afternoon, Julius.
Yes, go ahead quickly.
Thank you, Julius, for having me on your platform. I'm CRT Mara Super Junior of the Interlegacy District 14. I want to say, Julius, welcome back. I missed you on the OK conversation. No, Julius, you are a blessed guy. Last time I checked, the current president, while he's vice president, he also encouraged you on your critical role while he was serving as vice president. But I don't think they appreciate your criticism while he's the president. Now, the current vice president is also, appreciating you guys for being critical. However, I hope the day he becomes president in this country, he will still appreciate your criticism, because criticism is good enough democracy. U.S. moving forward, I want you to ask the government why the government is trying to procure 285 machine. What did the government do with the previous machine, the machine, the 30-plus machine that the previous government left?
Those are all the questions we wanted to ask the vice president, but that was the downside, that we did not do that final interview. That was the downside. You heard me say, yeah.
So Julia, because we cannot leave that session or answer, and then you want to procure 285 machines. We want to know what has become of those 30-plus machines, because if you are bringing 285 machines, which is good, it's going to benefit the country, but have you been able to maintain the 30 pieces? I'm told that they were all new machines. So let the government tell us where those machines have gone. And then finally, as I leave the platform, I've never criticized, I've never agreed with the current Senator Dillon on any of the argument, but on this issue of his argument against the labor ministry. I think I support him. One, it is in the interest of Liberia. I 100% support him. Thank you for giving me the time on your platform.
Thanks so kindly. Let's take some of the commenters. Welcome back and thanks for the updates. It is because of your balanced analysis and your journalistic acumen, Bangu, that the vice president included you on the trip to China. Keep it up, brother. That's Ernest Bailey. He goes on to say, when I saw all of what you posted while you were in China, I felt so sad about my country. Our leaders need to do more. We must demand more from concessionaires for the good of our nation. Okay. This person says, that's Michael Madueke. Welcome back. Thanks so much for always informing the Liberian people about what is happening in and out of Liberia. I miss you so much on this show. Welcome. I'm listening to you from my Kaike around Public Works. Okay. Thanks so kindly for following. This person says, okay, hold on. Comments coming in. I will tell that other one tomorrow. I will tell the A-Sky thing tomorrow. Okay, so yeah, that is that. Our guests are here. We're going over to them. We're back. We'll continue doing what we want to do. Okay, yeah. Santo Alfred says, thanks so much for your important briefing as it relates to the trip to China concerning the most talked about yellow machines. But here's my concern. In your briefing, you talk about people being penalized. My question is, what crime did they commit? Did they eat money? Did they sign any contract for yellow machines? Why should they be penalized? Okay. The same questions we're going to put to the VP, but then it didn't happen. Emmanuel Peters, one of your callers mentioned human development for China. It is not true. China has one of the highest developments. Its per capita income is middle, making it a middle income country. It has one of the strongest military economies. Therefore, it is considered by the West as developed due to huge domestic challenges. She considers herself as developing. Okay, the conversation's always going. So let's take this quick break as we segue over to our guests who are here. And of course, we're going to rumble into an important aspect of education. If you're not an educated people, you cannot develop. So that's where the whole human capital thing that we're not talking about. You got to be educated to develop. So let's talk education.
Your favorite RLJ Kendeja Resort and Villas is new and improved with top-notch first-class services guaranteed to make you feel pampered and special as our royal guests. Ideally located on the RI Highway, a few minutes drive from the rehab junction, right in front of the Atlantic Ocean, you are assured of a peaceful, serene atmosphere of a home away from home. The ingredients for our Liberian meals are freshly picked from our garden to give you that unforgettable taste of Liberian cuisine. Our villas are designed and equipped to ensure every night spent with us is a memorable one. We are well positioned to host conferences and seminars of all sizes, as well as outdoor events like garden weddings and parties. Book your upcoming events and leave the rest for us to handle with 100% satisfaction guarantee. You can reach us on 0770-533-415 or email us at reservations@kendejaresort.com.lr. Visit our website on www.rljkendejaresort.com.lr. RLJ Kendeja Resort and Villas, for memories worth repeating.
Welcome back. This is the OK Conversation on OKFM 99.5. We are right here, right now, and we have with us Royal Light International School. We're going to talk about the vacation school program, their upcoming academic year enrollment, and all of that. So let's go across the table and just tell us, since we're not very familiar. Yeah, let's start from you here. What's your name, sir?
Okay, good afternoon. My name is John Ahmed from the Royal Light International School.
Okay, what is your role there?
For now, I handle public relations and the media.
Okay. Let's hear you.
Hello everyone, my name is Joseph Moore and I'm also from Royal Light International School.
Okay, what's your role there?
For now, I'm the one coordinating the arrangement of the school and the recruitment of teachers.
Okay, perfect. Let's come to you. Tell us about this school. Give us some historical background. Where is it located particularly, and all of that?
Okay. Royal Light International School is new in town. We'll actually be starting our first academic program this September. It's located in the Duazon community, a few minutes drive away from the turning point there in Magibi County. It's a school that I want to bring a difference to the educational spectrum of our country. I was following your conversation while coming where you're talking about China and all that development. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have people who are educated up to that level to think out of the box in order to create all those things, there is no way they will be where they are today. So Royal Light wants to bring a different dynamics to the current educational sector in Liberia.
Okay, good. So again, where particularly are you located? And what is your level? What's your grade level and all of that?
Okay, the school is located right towards on turning point. When you are going to the big town, before you enter the big town, the junction is there. That's where the school is situated.
You said what to?
Towards
Okay,
Fee Highway, right at the turning point.
Okay.
You just have to ride.
They said the land side or the seaside?
Oh no, the land side.
Okay.
The land side. Yes.
Okay, so what is the level of the school? What's the grade level?
Okay, currently the school is running from nursery to 6th grade. Actually, we are thinking about stopping at 5th grade, but parents are demanding, those are coming and saying, okay, why can't we just run a full elementary school? So we have that at that level.
What sort of school is it? Is it like a community school? Is it like a free school? Is it like a private school? What is it really? What kind of school? We got some international schools here and all that, very expensive and all those kinds of things. So tell us, what is your school?
It is actually a private run. It will be a private run institution. Like we said, it's an international school.
Okay.
It's like a school that wants to build the foundation of the children. That's what we say. From now, we are doing from the nursery up to grade 6. But for this academic year, we'll only be taking from the nursery up to grade 5 because we want to focus on the foundation of our children. We want to bring out the creativity in them. So it's a private run institution. Yes, school fees will be paid, so not free.
Okay. And it being an international school, as you're claiming, what is there? What is there that will encourage people? What sort of facilities?
So we have some exceptional programs. First of all, infrastructurally, the school is built with the environment of having a school. Everything that kids need to learn is in that building that we have. If you check out our Facebook page, you are going to see what we have there. So for our programs, what makes us exceptional from other schools, we are running a school that is not just about reading and writing. We are creating arts, craft, painting for children. We are also developing a system where children will be knowledgeable in the tech world, creating a lab for them that will be able to read correctly, write. So it's not basically going to class, reciting after your teacher, and then you go back home. But it's a real hand-on learning activities that's happening there. That's what makes it international.
Yeah, I want you to be specific about the facilities.
Okay.
Yeah. You just say kids what they need to learn and everything. How is the environment like? Be a bit descriptive.
Okay.
Okay. Firstly, we have well-conditioned classroom.
Air-conditioned classroom.
Well-conditioned classroom. Air-conditioned, well-conditioned classrooms.
Okay.
And we are going to make the classroom conducive. So we are going to be taking not more than 15 students to a class.
Okay.
That is to allow the instructors or our teachers to pay attention to the students. So it won't be like other schools where you have like 50, 40, 70 students in the school, because we want the creativity in each of the kids that will attend the school to come out. So the teachers will be able to interact with the students one by one, know how best to bring the best out of them. We'll be running an art or craft section to bring out the creativity for other students. We have an ICT lab for our elementary students also that will expose them to ICT. Now the world is going digitalized, like you were saying before we came in, where we have AI and all those things. We want to expose the kids to all those things from the foundational level before coming up. So there are a lot of things that we are still working on.
Yeah. Will you have school bus too? Because I know most of these schools can.
Yes, on the issue of bus, we have a bus for the students. For now, basically, we are targeting those from EAWA Junction up to Marshall City. So we have a bus, real cool bus that will pick your children from the door post and then take them to the school. So transportation is also available in the process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how can people get in contact with the school before we go to all the other things? So there are two ways to get in contact with us. You can go on our Facebook page. Our contact is available there. You can also call the administrator's number, and then you can get in touch with us. So you can call 0776 774152 if you want to get additional information, you want to get location. And then you can go on our school page, like I said, firstly, Facebook. You will see all of the information concerning the school is there, and the school is available to you. You can also, if you want to have an information sheet, and then maybe you are a busy parent that leave early and you come back late, you just have to pay the fees to our mobile money. And once you are on WhatsApp, in less than 5 minutes, you'll receive the information sheet. And every other detail that you want to know about the school is embedded in that information sheet. Okay.
Yeah, let me just add something. Another thing that makes our school, that is going to make our school stand out, is we are going to be offering a second language to the kids. So they'll have an option to either learn French or Chinese as early as they are. So we'll be offering a second language apart from English.
You have Chinese teachers there?
Oh yes, we have recruited a Chinese instructor.
Can you take all people to learn Chinese?
Is it?
Can you take all people to?
No.
To
for now, maybe we develop a program like that in terms of camp. But for now, we have a Chinese teacher for the kids that is going to teach them, not just Chinese teacher by name, but somebody that is trained, that is capable of teaching the children. That they'll be able to understand and then at least say some simple sentences in Chinese and be able to express themselves. And so it's two languages that we're going to have. You can choose to select French as a second language, or you choose to take Chinese as a second language. Those two teachers are already available. They're on the standby and they're ready to teach the children. Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, the vacation school you're talking about.
Okay, so for this vacation, Royal Light decided to do it a bit different. Not just the normal coming to school, writing, reading, and then going home. So we decided that this vacation, we are going to do something special for the children. So we are running a program that will begin the second week of July, and the program is going to feature public speaking, reading, dancing, special acts, and then different kinds of programs that will enable the children to be able to give their parents perfect joy of things that is in their mind. And for that, we have a very special person that is coming from the United States to conduct that training for the children.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to advance on that? When is the vacation school? Is from when to when? What are the fees and all that?
Okay, so the vacation school is starting the 19th of July. The fees is $80 for 2 months. So up to the first week in September. That's why we want to run the vacation school. So we have limited spaces because the class is not going to be bucket and the training is a bit advanced. So we are not just accepting a whole lot of people that we're not able to train, because we want them to have a perfect understanding of what they are going to do. So it's $80 per student and it's for 2 months. So that means you are paying $40 per month for the program.
Okay. Now, talking about the calendar year, the educational calendar year that's coming up. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so like we said, we'll be starting joining this year from September. And according to the administration, we are going to be using the Liberia and also the Cambridge curriculum in order to run the academic year for the students. So this September, we'll start our first enrollment of students, like I said, from the nursery up to the 5th grade. But for this vacation program, one thing that's going to stand out is our act and mural training. And like we said, it's an international school. We have a skillful artist that will be flying in. He will be arriving next week. He's going to be the one taking the art and mural class. In fact, he's on the line. He would like to speak to us also. That will be teaching the kids how to bring out the best from their imagination. I know, put it to art, put it to drawing, and all that.
Okay, yeah. So let's hear from him. What's his name?
Yeah, Mr. Patrick Gono.
Okay, Mr. Gono, welcome to the OK Conversation on OKFM 99.5.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure being on your show. While in Liberia, I know I listened to the OKFM a few times, but it's really an honor to be on your show today. I'm so sorry I don't remember your name.
Yeah, this is Julius Jeh.
Thank you for having me, Julius.
Okay. Now, you're a part of this whole international school we're discussing here, and I'm told you have a very important part to play in the vacation school. Give us some understanding of what you'll be doing.
As an artist, I will be sharing my knowledge with the young ones. So let me first start off by introducing myself. I am Patrick Gono, and I am a Liberian artist. And I received the opportunity to become Liberia's first artist in residence in 2019, and that opportunity was sponsored by the Dayton Society of Artists, that's in Dayton, Ohio, USA, and the Dayton Sister City Committee. So the Dayton Sister City Committee and Monrovia, they're sister cities, and they have a very strong connection. So as you may be aware, we have the U.S. Embassy in Liberia, and they are working with us. So Dayton and Monrovia, they're a sister cities. So the reason that I had that opportunity was to reach the two cities and to strengthen the ties. And so that extended until 2023. I returned to the U.S. again for a similar activity, and I painted a mural Y in Dayton. So if you are listening to me and you are online, you can just look up Patrick Gono Liberia or Patrick Gono Dayton, Ohio, that's USA, and you get to see some of the works that I've done. So when I stay here currently in the United States, I was reached out by the Royal Light International School, and they needed a mural artist. Fortunately, this is something I wanted to do. Like, I've had this interest of really sharing my knowledge. I'm a self-taught artist, and I really wish that I had the opportunity to go to an art college and acquire some level of art education. But it happens that due to my countless hours of practice, I've really improved in my craft. So I believe that this is really a sharing time. This is a give back time. So when the head of the Royal Light International School and I spoke, and she expressed interest, that really resonated well with me, and I believe that this is the time. This is now that I want to give back to the society. And so she's going to be having me at the Royal Light School in July, and I will be teaching the kids like one-on-one how to create art, helping kids to create art like from their heart, what they see, what they feel, and just helping them to color their work and put a smile on their faces.
So when you say mural artist, what is it?
The word is actually mural. So sometimes you watch like if you're a movie fan and you watch movies like cities like New York or other big cities, those very big artworks you see on the wall, those huge paintings, beautiful pictures, those are called murals. And it's not because they're huge, that's why they call murals, but they're more like public message type of pictures, and they're presenting some sort of statement. So again, I refer you again to my name. When you Google Patrick Bono Liberia, you get to see a project that I did with the U.S. Embassy. That's amid the COVID-19, and I painted a Corona awareness mural. And that project was graced by former U.S. Ambassador Michael McCarthy. So it was a big painting, that was sharing a message. It's usually colorful, it's vibrant, and it usually carry a clear and bold message. So that's what I mean when I say mural.
Okay. Now, when are you expected to be here, and when can? And apart from just being at the school, are there other places you're going to be, other interventions that you're going to be making?
I'm expected to be in Liberia about the first to the second week, and this is really because sometimes there can be delay in flights and so forth. But when I'm in Liberia, I'm going to work full-time with the Royal Light International School. And besides working with the Royal Light as an artist, there are other opportunities for me. That means I could go to other African countries. Like one of the places I'm expected to be will be Nigeria, where there's a lady here in Redding, California, and she will be moving in Nigeria, where she's a teacher, and she will have me for maybe a month or two, and I will also be sharing, artistic knowledge with the kids. So this is really a whole dream and a whole plan to visit each and every part of Liberia and just share my knowledge. One of the places on my bucket list as an artist personally will be reaching out to River G. I was born in Tubacan. It's a small town pretty close to River G, and I really left that place when I was so little.
But Tubacan is in Maryland. That's my town. That's my family town. The whole Tubacan, Duck-Laken area.
That's where I was born.
Okay.
And I really want to return and just share my gift with the kids, and not just that. I want to reach out to every other part of Liberia and do that, and just keep growing and keep sharing my gift with the world.
Okay. Thanks so kindly for being on the line and being part of this. We'll now go to the phone lines to speak with those listening.
Thank you so much.
Okay. That's him right there. Let's take a few calls before we come back to you guys. 777-700-995, 555-995, especially for those living along the highway from ERWA Junction all the way to Marshall area. You can ask them a question. You can call and obviously just few calls. I guess our next guest is already here. So, welcome. Let's hear you quickly.
Afternoon, Julius Jeh. I'm James Samuel. I'm from Jakarta, Riha.
Go ahead.
Thanks so much for this opportunity given to Liberia. But I have a few concerns, a few comments or questions I want to ask. One is, we are looking at the school fees, discussing it now with the school fees at the school fees level. Then, secondly, the qualification of the teachers that will be teaching those students. And then thirdly, whether they have really, whether they compliance, whether they have done their compliance with regular school authorities, in terms of permit, tax, and so that accreditation, the school accredited, because you open the school and you don't meet up, you don't comply with authorities, then you may likely suffer shut down. So whether they have met all the procedures,
okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks so kindly. Let's see who's here. 777-700-995, 555-995-995. The numbers to call. Let's Let's see who's here. Welcome. Let's hear you. You can take just this one.
Yeah. Welcome back, Julius. Avin Johnson calling from Tuvo Road, Tissue number 4, Mosorano.
Go ahead.
Opening area for the country, a better school, thinner school, when you think that, or you should be able to do all the necessary things that will make it grow, and that will make the government do not get on your back, because the accreditation, every other document that you need to get to make a school functioning. So we tell God, thank you for people that will bring things to the point to help. Yeah, boy, you should just do the right thing, that's all. And I was in your county, yeah, I just from Saint Mary, yeah, I just from Mary, I was in Plibo, I was in Apple,
okay.
I little in Fish Town.
Okay.
So, and I'm back to so thank you for the show. I'll call later on the next program.
Thanks so kindly. The final one. Welcome.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, my own Allah and Big Brother Julius. Let me first take this time to say, Big Brother Julius, welcome back to country. How was the kid and how the family? Big Brother to the point, right? Let me also take this time to appreciate your student there and for their project that they have undertaken when it comes to academic. Yeah, we must applaud them for what they doing, and Big Brother, this is what happens whenever you have a government who invests into a motivate people from the private sector to come out to budget the government, right? I believe that all of these come about the stewardship from the beginning, right? The presidency, we see that the key role they are playing in terms of human resource and the development. So based upon that, people like even Mr. Jeh can be motivated to build a school and upgrade it to international standard. And I also want to conclude.
Yeah, thanks. It's okay. Let me go to them. The next guy is here. Let's start with you, then we'll end up with him.
Okay, there are a few concerns that were raised concerning the fees. We said that the fees is $80 per student.
That's for vacation.
Yeah, that's for the vacation school. It's $40 per month because it's running for 2 months. And on the issue of qualified teachers, we have qualified teachers, and those that have been recruited to teach the school are people that they have experience. We are also going to have some Nigerian teachers mixed with Liberian teachers, so the teachers at the school are qualified. On the issue of compliance with government, we are on course with that, and we did all of our work with the government, especially our district office, and so everything is on course with that. I also want to add that we did not make mention about our school curriculum that we're going to be using. We are not just going to teach anything at the school. We are using the Liberian curriculum, the Cambridge curriculum, and then a Becca. For the Liberian curriculum, the reason why we are using it is because of the social studies. We want to give the children much knowledge about Liberia. And then we are using the Cambridge curriculum for the language portion of it, the Becca for phonics, and then the arithmetic. We are also using a Becca. So you can see that we have a good program package for your children.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's come to you.
Okay. Thank you, Julius. Like we said, it's an international school. So if you are wondering about the quality of our teachers, I think we just cleared your doubt. We just brought in someone from the United States, well knowledge, just for a vacation program. So imagine the kind of teachers that you have teaching your children at the school. So our teachers will be well up to par of international standards. Also, we have met all, like my colleague said, everything that we need to do arrangement with the government concerning running institution in Liberia. And now we are also making plans for international partners. So a few years from now, you may have our students traveling to other countries, to other schools for student exchange and those are things. So now we are finished with all the local arrangements. We are now on international arrangements. So Royal Light is a place that you would like to have your school, and we have a strong IT system for your kids.
Okay.
Especially to miss the 21st century.
Thanks so kindly, gentlemen, for being here. We appreciate the partnership of OKFM. Of course, this was a pay-for slot, just so you know. Okay, so, yeah, so we are out. Let's take this break. Next up, Robtel Nije Pele. Doctor.
Are you a driver? Do you have a ride? Want to make some extra cash? Say no more. because we've got you covered. Omuta has arrived. The best drivers app to ever hit Liberia, with over 1 million riders just waiting for you. Join the train right now and don't be left out. Drive at your own convenient time. Drive whenever it suits you. Drive on the weekdays. Drive on the weekends. Drive in the evening. Make driving work around your lifestyle. The good news is you get paid every day. Every time you drive, you get money. So don't be left out. Rush now and get your Omuta app on Google Play and Apple Store. It's ORMUTA. Omuta, the best driver app connecting Liberia. So don't be left out. Join the Omuta family right now and make some cash. Let's roll, baby. Let's roll, baby.
Attention, attention, attention to all lovers of the good things in life. A house is not a home, and a home is the one place where you should feel relaxed and accomplished. Your home should reflect who you are. So, it's time to make that upgrade with minimal damage to your pockets. And I have the perfect solution for you. Home Sweet Home, located on Benson Street, between Center and Buchanan Streets, got you covered. From the kitchen, we have air fryers, juice makers, pressure cookers, freezers of all sizes, and all the modern kitchenwares you can think about. From the bedroom, we have top of the line, exquisite beddings to give you that great night's sleep because you have earned it. And soft, comfortable towels for your bathroom. And in the living room, we have high definition TV sets of all sizes, unique aerial rugs, classy curtains in all the colors you desire, wall paintings of different sizes and colors, furniture, and everything you can think about for the home. All that at unbelievable prices. We even have low voltage, high quality washing machines and dryers to keep your clothes fresh and new at all times. As a bonus, we have fashion accessories for both the young and the old, designer quality bags, hats, and rare jewelries. So if you love yourself, your family, and your home, it's time to treat it right. Visit Home Sweet Home on Benson Street between Center and Buchanan Streets for that needed upgrade. You can call them on 0886 834 944 or 0770 581 420. Home Sweet Home, for the love of a classy home.
Welcome back. This is the OK Conversation on OKFM 99.5. We have with us Dr. Robtel Nije Pele. She's right here with us, taking some time out to hold a conversation on our country. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Julius.
You just come a little closer to.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Julius.
How is life? I know you're usually shuttling between Monrovia and London and sometimes Washington. What's going
on? Life is good. I have no major complaints, except the fact that the world is falling apart. But besides that, everything is good.
Falling apart? That's a bold, heavy claim to make.
In the sense that geopolitically, there's not much to be excited about in terms of positivity out there. And not just within the context of Liberia, but just the world. I think there's an absence of real leadership across the globe.
Can I take it that you're sounding apocalyptic?
No, it's not apocalyptic. I would say that it's just me being a realist. I was just outside in your green room, and I was watching footage on Al Jazeera of Gaza being reduced to rubble. And you can even ask your producers, I was on the verge of tears. I mean, seeing that kind of footage, we should all be appalled. We should all be up in arms about the fact that this genocide is taking place right in front of our eyes, and nothing is being done about it. So I'll just end there because I don't want to tear up and start getting emotional, but I think I'm in a very reflective position right now, and it's a difficult time to be someone who's interested and conscientious about the world and wanting to see the world transform for the better for everybody.
Well, and that's why we have you here. Almost a year ago, we're just like close to a month shy of that time, you delivered one of the most memorable Independence Day speeches in Liberian history. It's going to go down as just one of the greatest, one of the best, one of the most controversial, one of those that just touched everywhere. And well, different reactions and everything else. But first of all, what went into that?
It's funny that you say that. So there were people who read the speech who were not even Liberians. So I'll give you an example. When the speech was delivered a few weeks afterwards, one of my undergraduate students at the London School of Economics sent me this heartfelt letter. And she said she read the speech from beginning until end. And for her, it was like my love letter to Liberia. My love letter to Liberia. And I hadn't even thought about it in that way, but I thought it's such a beautiful way of encapsulating that speech. It was my love letter to Liberia. Because when you love something so deeply, you want to see it transform for the better. And so that was my way of reminding us that we have a long way to go, but it's our responsibility to transform Liberia, to build Liberia better, to build Liberia differently. So that's what went into that speech. It was my love letter to Liberia, this heartfelt sort of exhortation to the country that we have to do things differently, that we can't continue on this road and expect the next 177 years to be different if we don't change course correct.
Yeah, the reactions were diverse. They were varied, and just like you said, someone saw it like a love letter. Someone else who have seen it as a rebuke. Someone else who have seen it as anything else. Does it make you feel okay that different people relate to it differently?
Yes. The reason I say yes is because the purpose of the speech was to touch every single fabric of society. And I believe that's fundamentally what I did. So I remember when I had arrived in Liberia around this time last year, there were a lot of people calling me and saying, "Oh, I know you're going to deal with the government." And I just laughed. Inside, I laughed. Because the speech was not just for the government. It was everybody. Everybody can see themselves reflected in that speech. And because everybody could see themselves reflected in the speech, that's why the response was so varied, right? That you could say was a rebuke. I talked about the fact that this speech was about reckoning, reconciliation and reckoning. You could say that it was a love letter. I mean, that was the way my students sort of viewed it. You could say that it was a clarion call to transformation. You could say so many things about the speech because everybody was reflected in that speech. And that was the purpose of the speech. You talked about what went into the speech. I wanted everyone to see themselves reflected in the speech and to reflect on that reflection, if that makes any sense to you, right? So that speech was not for the government. It was for the Liberian people. The government happens to be a part of that collective, but it was not just for the government. And everybody has a responsibility. I talked about this idea of the citizenship triad, right? Every single person in this country has a responsibility to transform Liberia such that the next 177 years looks fundamentally different.
Even the theme of the speech was
a radical agenda.
It was like coming out fighting. It was like coming out with, like a blockbuster movie that just begins with real action. A radical agenda for reimagining Liberia.
Yes.
Yeah. Now,
and I also started with the Black Power salute. A lot of people noticed that as well, right? This idea of when I picture Liberia, I see fists of all shapes and sizes raised in the air like this. So,
because our Declaration of Independence on July 26, 1847 was a revolutionary act of defiance. When you start a speech like that, one would expect that it should continue in that cadence and rhythm, and that actually did. Now, when you were developing it, touching on different things, we will go to the recommendations part and see. But what frame of mind were you in? What did you want to achieve? What the different things that you touched on? What was there? What were you thinking?
Yeah, I think if you look at the beginning of the speech, it really was about celebration. Right? This idea of a defiant act, the revolutionary act of defiance, declaring your independence when no other country in the continent of Africa existed, right, as a republic. And for me, that was a point of celebration. So I kept talking about the fact that Liberia holds a very special place in the Black kind of tradition you know, and then harking back to even Haiti and saying that we owe homage to Haiti being the first Black republic in the Western Hemisphere, and then we were the first Black republic in the
And
African.
we pronounce it Haiti.
Haiti.
Okay.
So people in Haiti pronounce it Haiti.
Okay.
They don't say Haiti.
Okay.
Yeah. So it began with a message of hope that we do have something to celebrate, even though July 26th represents regression for some people. For the most part, as a collective, in that 177th year, we really had something to celebrate, right? That revolutionary act of defiance was something that we need to celebrate. But then I went on to say, 177 years has passed. What do we actually have to show for it?
Because
so that's where that point of reckoning and really reflecting on what have we actually achieved from that moment of revolutionary defiance.
Yeah, in the paragraph that precedes it, it says clearly what you just spoke about, but the succeeding paragraph goes on to say, yet when we talk about ourselves today in the narratives that we pass down from one generation to another, we tend to forget about the magnitude of 1847. We forget that this glorious land of liberty was once founded on abolitionist principles. We forget that dignity
once defined us. And I use that as a refrain throughout the speech because for me that was the kernel of the speech, this idea of dignity once defined us and it can still define us today. And that reminder, what does that mean?
Is it that socio-culturally, socio-politically, have we found ourselves in a space where we do not think we're dignified as a nation, that we are better or we can be better than we are or perceived to be? Is that what you see?
So one of the things that I've said in a previous interview, I think it was held last August, is that fundamentally I believe that there's almost this sort of lack of self-esteem. There's something that's crept into the body politic of Liberia that's very, very much about us not realizing that we come from this tradition of revolutionary defiance and almost accepting mediocrity as the norm, right? Mm-hmm. And I think we need to come out of that dream. It's almost like a reverie. We need to come out of that dream and realize where we've come from and where we need to go. So for me, that speech was really about reminding us where we came from. This idea of dignity once defined us, it must define us now.
Okay, so then we move on to recommendations that you made. So let us start with dignity redefining us today. Do you think we are getting on that path now, almost a year on?
Baby steps, very, very small baby steps. I mean, I can point to some things that I think are going well and certainly point to other things that aren't necessarily going well. So this idea of the radical agenda, right? So there are three things that I said encompass this radical agenda. So the first is redefining citizenship. So what does it mean to be a citizen in a post-war nation? And not just domestic citizenship, but also diasporic transnational citizenship. So what are the requirements? What is required of us as citizens? Not just claiming rights and saying we're entitled to this, this, and this, but also fulfilling responsibilities, building relationships. All those things are really important. And those are the things that encapsulate my citizenship triad, that sort of triangle that says it's about rights, it's about responsibilities, but it's also about building relationships. The second recommendation I made in terms of this radical agenda is that we really have to tackle the twin challenges of structural violence. So all the rules, the norms, the regulations that fuel inequality and injustice. The second thing we need to tackle is unfreedom. So there's a development scholar by the name of Amartya Sen. He's won the Nobel Prize, Indian scholar. And he talks about the fact that development is not just participating in free market capitalism. It's not just about economic growth. It's really about building the capacities of individuals such that they can realize their freedoms, right? So some of the unfreedoms would be poverty, inequality, injustice, lack of political rights. So those are the things that I'm talking about when I'm talking about tackling structural violence as well as unfreedoms. And then the last thing that I talked about in terms of this radical agenda is this idea of privileging nation building just as much as we privilege state building. And to remind people what I meant by state building versus nation building is state building is really building the institutions of government, which I think are fundamentally important, right? So the judiciary, the legislature, the executive, those institutions that make a government function properly are very, very important. But equally important, and perhaps even more important, is this idea of nation building, right? Building a consensus around identity, right? Building relationships between individuals, but also building relationships between the institutions of government and the citizenry, right? Reconciliation, rehabilitation, all of those things are the hallmarks of nation building. So prioritize nation building as much as you prioritize state building, because for the past 20 years or so, my argument, and I've proved this in my scholarly work, is that we prioritize state building more than we do nation building.
Now, let me take you back to the question of citizenship.
Sure.
I've just returned from China, and I know how they take it. It's quite protected, quite difficult to infiltrate. Schooled in the UK, I also saw it's more of a liberal kind of way of becoming a citizen there. What sort of approach do you think will suit us? There are questions about who can be a Liberian citizen. There are questions about people losing their Liberian citizenship after assuming the citizenship of other countries. There are questions about people who are not blacks cannot become citizens here. So how do we work around that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I'll start with the last point that you made. And it's interesting that you made that point, because the last time I was here was 2021, and I was talking about my new book, Africa's Negro Republics, which is an investigation or an exploration of this idea of the Negro clause, right? Not only in Liberia, but in Sierra Leone. So I'm still gathering data for that book, and maybe I can come on later to talk about that particular issue. But in terms of how I conceptualize citizenship, and I talked about it in the speech, is that for me, citizenship is not just about identity. It's not about the fact that, or just that you have a passport that says Liberian, or you were born in Liberia, or you have ancestry from Liberia. That's a part of it, but it's not the full picture, right? For me, citizenship is really about contribution. What kind of contributions have you made, both big and small? Are you paying your taxes? Are you abiding by the laws of the state? Are you building Liberian capacities, right? For me, that's what real citizenship. It's not about the passport that you wave around. It's what you do with that identity that really makes you a citizen. And then furthermore, it's this idea of building relationships, right? So the relationship between citizens.
Before we get to the relationship part, the responsibility part. With a political culture that seemingly acknowledges the poverty of the people and usually would not push more into their own responsibility to the state. Is it not problematic? No. Politicians, for example, come to power, they may not be able to push the issue of paying taxes and the responsibilities of the citizens, because the people suffering in our Liberian parlance, and wanting to get the streets into a certain shape, to carry out certain developmental initiatives. Government just cannot do it, because the ability of making citizens to understand or play their own role continues to hinder development. What can you say to that?
That's precisely why it's so important for all of us to feel and acknowledge the fact that we all have responsibility. So even from the cradle all the way to the grave, we have a responsibility to the state. And you do it within your own capacity, right? So anybody can play a role in being fundamentally a citizen. So the fact that I've just come down...
Is our political culture supportive of it?
Is our political culture supportive of it? Regardless of whether or not our political culture is supportive of it, we should still take that responsibility seriously, right? This idea of fulfilling responsibility. So for something as simple, Julius, as how do we keep our streets clean? It doesn't require money. It just requires a certain level of conscientiousness that I have a responsibility to take that trash and put it in the nearest trash can to keep my city clean. Or something as simple as, do we respect time? I even brought that up in the speech. Do we respect time? Do we respect our time, and do we respect each other's time? Right?
No, definitely.
All of that for me are the hallmarks of citizenship. Because when we think about citizenship, it's when people think about citizenship on the highest level, they think about it as political subjectivity, right? Participating in the political process. For me, that's a part of it, but that's not the whole story. That idea of fulfilling responsibilities is so varied, right? Picking up trash from the street, not throwing trash on the street, respecting people's time, coming to things on time. That is a form of citizenship, right?
It is. And I have noticed that those are hallmarks of developed societies.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now,
and we can get there.
Yeah. And you spoke about own freedoms as well. I want you to expand on that.
Sure. So as I mentioned, Amartya Sen is this Indian Nobel Peace Prize winner. He's an economist. And what I love about his work is that most economists think about development as about, economic growth. He completely eschewed that idea. He said, development is not, this idea of socioeconomic transformation is not just about economic growth. It's about a community's or a state's ability to build the capacities of individuals within that particular state. So making sure that children have access to quality education. And the operative word here is quality education, not just any education, quality education. Making sure that people have political rights. So are you able to vote without fear or favor? Can you run for political office? Can you engage in the political discourse? Is there freedom of media and the press? Those are the kinds of freedoms that Amartya Sen talks about, right? And he says fundamentally that's what development is. It's about building the capacities such that citizens, individuals, collectivities can express these freedoms, can have these freedoms. And I think that's such a beautiful way of thinking about development beyond the sort of economic growth thesis. And he does that.
Now, and you also spoke about state building, nation building. You made recommendations around those. Are your recommendations being heard too?
So yes, I see in various sectors institutions of government functioning as they should. Not all of them, but some of them. And then I also see this emphasis on building relationships. So I just read, I think it was on the Daily Observer, because I was skimming through the headlines recently, and I just read that President Boakai visited Tuzon, and he was the, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm mistaken, he was the only post-war president who's actually visited Tuzon, and it was really a sort of form of reconciliation to say that, we know what happened here. We know that this is the ancestral home of President Doe. We're going to rebury our past presidents who've been severely assassinated. And we're going to use that as a tool for reconciliation. But I also said in my speech, yes, reconciliation is important, peace is important, but the arc of a reimagined Liberia bends towards justice. So one of the recommendations that I made is, yes, we have this Office of the War and Economic Crimes Court, but the person who was selected, and I say selected, selected to lead the court, was done in a very untransparent manner, right? So if you're going to select somebody to lead such a very, very important, impactful, influential transitional justice institution, then it must be a process that's transparent. It must be a process that's merit-based. It must be a process that everybody has some sort of part to play in, right? Especially those who've been in the trenches of transitional justice for over 20 years. And President Boakai did take up that recommendation. And I want to actually stress that this was not my recommendation kind of in a vacuum. There were civil society actors who'd been pushing for this long before I even stated it. All I did was I reinforced that this should be a priority. And President Boakai actually did take this up.
Even though that office now is operational, and recently they were crying for not being paid for 5 months.
I agree. That's where I was going, and I'm glad you jumped in. Absolutely. So beyond the symbolism of extending this executive order, because it's been extended for an additional 12 months, you have to make sure that it is capacitated, right? So that means ensuring that there's sufficient funding, and that sufficient funding must come from the government coffers. We can't rely on external actors to come and fund our transitional justice process. I mean, we can ask them to assist, but we must provide the lion's share of the Office of the World War and Economic Crimes Court, right? And I think we need to move beyond the symbolism, because I think the government is really good at symbolism, sort of symbolic gestures, and actually put your money where your mouth is. If you say that this particular office is important, finance it. They shouldn't be on air talking about the fact that they haven't been paid for 5 months. That's, for me, is completely unacceptable.
Let's talk a bit about structural violence. You
Okay.
said somewhere here, though less visible than physical violence, structural violence is systemic, enduring, and ultimately more dangerous. Indeed, the true test of any nation is its willingness to transform the structural conditions that render so many of its citizens hopeless and hapless. Advance a bit on structural violence and give us some examples.
Yeah,
here.
absolutely. So structural violence is a term that was developed by Johan Galtung. He's, I think, a Norwegian. He's considered the father of peace studies. So he came up with this idea of structural violence, and he says basically structural violence is the norms, the rules, the regulations, the systems that fuel inequality and injustice. A form of structural violence for me, and I brought it up in the speech, is the fact that you've got people who are making minimum wage or less than minimum wage in this country. That is a systemic, institutional, structural violence, right? So I know of people, and I'm not going to name institutions, that pay people less than the minimum wage of 143. I believe it's still 143. Why are we paying people less than $143 if the minimum wage is $143? So this idea of you have laws and rules and regulations, but they're completely defied by people in positions of power, right? So whether it's the private sector or the public sector, humanitarian sector, pay people the minimum wage. I also said that even the minimum wage is structurally violent, right? How can someone, let's say you have a family of 4, live on $143 a month, Julius? That is structural violence. That is inherently unequal, right? When you've got other people who shall remain nameless who are making 100 times more than that. Not because of their own, because they're much better than those people who are making 143.
Because they're in privileged
positions. And those privileged positions must be challenged, right? So why is a member of the legislature making I don't know how much they make, but they make significant amounts of money, right? Exorbitant amounts of money. Or someone I was going to just say that. Appointed officials at the state-owned enterprises. Why are they taking home $10,000 a month? In a post-war country, I consider that to be structural violence. I consider that to be an egregious crime that we need to raise alarm about, right? That's a form of structural violence. I hope that helps people understand what I mean by that.
You made some other recommendations. And if inclusive growth is mentioned, then we must cancel contracts with poorly performing multinationals and renegotiate concession agreements that violate Liberian laws, including our labor laws and international human rights standards, including environmental governance.
Yes.
Are we on track for that, or are we still lazy
So
about?
I know the big concession company that's kind of been in the news most recently is ArcelorMittal, and they're supposed to, I believe their MD is supposed to be renewed in 2030. So they're on a charm offensive is what I'm calling, right? So they're making it seem as if they've done so much for Liberia in the past 20 years. They were the first post-war investor, the first major post-war investor in Liberia. And my suggestion is we shouldn't sign that concession agreement for renewal until we've done due diligence. And I think a lot of members of, or not a lot, a few members of the legislature have already raised alarm bells about ArcelorMittal. Let's look at all the other concessionaires, right? Look at the concession companies, look at their MDAs, figure out whether or not they're complying with the terms of those MDAs. And if they're not, Boakai and his administration have the wherewithal to cancel those concession agreements because it's a new administration, right? They definitely have the power and the will.
But he was praising them. He was saying that. He was praising them that they've done more for the country.
Well, I can't blame ArcelorMittal. What I can blame is the people who are supposed to be holding ArcelorMittal accountable.
I'm saying, that is what the president said. He was praising them. There's a clip of him
praising ArcelorMittal.
Yes.
I wouldn't praise ArcelorMittal. Not 20 years you're in our country and you have nothing to show for it. But as I said, I'm not blaming ArcelorMittal. I'm blaming the Bureau of Concessions. We have a Bureau of Concessions, right? A National Bureau of Concessions. Yeah. So all along, the National Bureau of Concessions should have been making sure that ArcelorMittal was complying with the terms of their mineral development agreement, right? At the end of the day, these multinationals, their bottom line is making profit. They're not interested in corporate social responsibility or this new thing, ESG, environmental social justice or governance, right? They're not really interested in that. Until the government holds their feet to the fire, they're going to continue to not comply with the concession agreements. And that's our responsibility. That's our government's responsibility to ensure that we are instituting the most transparent measures of making them accountable.
On the domestic front, we must lead a values-based revolution against corruption. Are we on track?
I don't know if it's a values-based revolution. I don't think we're there yet. Definitely not there yet. I mean, you can put some people in jail. You can, I know there's been a lot of assets recovery, talk about assets recovery, which I think is important, like structurally and procedurally very important. There are also a number of cases that have been investigated by lack, and people are going to jail, or at least they're being arrested and investigated, which I think is great. But when we talk about values-based revolution, it's really about what do we value as a society? Do we value accumulating mass amounts of wealth in the midst of poverty, right? Do we value plenty in the midst of poverty? Do we value wealth in the midst of want? We need to completely reconfigure what we value in society. Is it hard work? Do we value hard work? So that's what I mean by values-based revolution, because at the end of the day, honestly, Julius, I remember when I worked for government, people would say if you leave government having not accumulated wealth, then you're stupid. That's a value judgment. Are we saying that we expect people in government to steal? And when they don't, then we call them stupid? That is coming from the public.
Yeah.
It's not coming from government officials, it's coming from public. So we have to think about what is it that we value? Do we value people honoring public service as something that is a service, not about accumulating wealth, not being political entrepreneurs is a term that I usually love. People who make being in government office a business, right? They're only in government to extract, they're only in government to accumulate wealth. So we really have to, as a collective, as a society, figure out what it is that we value. Do we value integrity? Do we value hard work? Do we value honesty? Are those the things that drive our society? Or is it hook and crook, kato? Is it this country, you see that technique? Those kinds of, the kind of informal corruption that we all engage in, but we don't call it corruption. We call it something different.
And then you said, in addition to prosecuting people in a soon-to-be established National Anti-Corruption Court, we must also remove corruption-inducing expenditure from our budget, such as inflated salaries for elected and appointed officials, imported vehicles, fuel and scratch card allotments, blah, blah, blah. Now, you've been following, you've seen the two budgets that have come out so far. Have we made strides?
No, I think we need to increase budget allotments for education and health, for agriculture. Those, for me, should be the foundations. Obviously, infrastructure is important. Building the roads is really, really important. But I think social services, education, and health should really be our bread and butter. We should be increasing the budget, the percentage of the budget for those two social services. And then if we think about how do we mobilize, this idea of domestic resource mobilization, we should be able to feed ourselves. And in order to feed ourselves, we need to have food security, right? Because Liberia is food insecure. So we're constantly importing rice, our staple crop, and not, you know what I mean? So, creating an agriculture base such that we are eating what we grow, and supporting farmers, supporting those who are in agribusiness, scaling up their agribusiness industries, and then making sure, I think I even said one of my recommendations was ensuring that a percentage of government contracts, procurement in terms of procurement, comes from scaling up agribusinesses. That's the only way to really transform society. I mean, if you look at Thomas Sankara, the late Thomas Sankara, when he was in office for just 4 years, he prioritized food security for Burkina Faso. And that's one of the ways they were able to grow in terms of revenue.
You also spoke about the legislature, talking about different things about them and being quite critical as well. You said to members of our national legislature, some of you are already campaigning for 2029, but I urge you to stop jockeying for power and grandstanding on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Do the work of the Liberian people. Now, are they doing the work? Because
some of them are, but I would say the vast majority of them are not.
What will you make of the impasse that developed not long after the independence that brought down the legislature almost to its knees?
Unfortunate. And a waste of the people's time and resources, right? So the fact that you have these two, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because I know there's a case right now, so I don't want to be quoted as then infiltrated in the case. But the fact that you've got two people or two factions jockeying for power is precisely what I talked about when I said this idea of lawbreakers, right? So you have a legitimately appointed speaker who then is replaced by an illegitimately appointed speaker. And then there's this whole impasse as a result of that. Two men jockeying for power at the expense of the Liberian people. So I even wrote a piece called When Two Elephants Fight, the Grass Suffers. So the two elephants were the two factions of the house fighting, and who suffers in the process? The Liberian people. For me, that was an egregious, pretty much held the country out in for what, 6 months?
More
No
than that,
progress.
7, 8 months.
7, 8 months. Yeah, held the country hostage because these two factions of political leadership believed that they were more legitimate than the other person. We have to do better, legislature. Members of the House, we have to do better. Members of the Senate, we have to do better. You were elected by the Liberian people to serve them, not to serve your own selfish interests.
You spoke about refashioning our flag, the seal, the national anthem, national awards, among others. We went on to also call for the adoption of one of Liberia's most widely spoken languages as our national language and embrace Liberian English as our lingua franca.
Yes, some people said because I'm Bassa and Crew that I would have selected Bassa and Crew, and the answer is no, actually. I think Pele is the most widely spoken language. So I was alluding to that.
Have we made any strides?
On that front, not so much. I mean, one of the things that I did, and I haven't said this publicly, but all of those recommendations that you've mentioned from the speech, I actually created a matrix, like a whole table. Okay. The table is about 4 or 5 pages with all of the recommendations listed, and I passed it on to the executive mansion. I'm not really sure what happened with that, but after reading that particular matrix again before coming in today, when I was looking at the arrest agenda for inclusive development, the fact that they included the word inclusive is very important for me because I did talk about this idea of inclusive growth. There are remnants of the speech and the recommendations of the speech in the arrest agenda for inclusive growth. So one of the things that I talked about throughout the speech, or I mentioned it very briefly, is this idea of investing in our creative industries and not necessarily investing in extractives, right? So taking finite resources and exporting it without any sort of value addition, no manufacturing, nothing. Switch from the extractives and really focus on our writers, our dramatists, our singers, our creatives. Your guests who were just in the studio were talking about a creative arts camp, which I thought is so fantastic, right? We've got creative people in this country who are completely being ignored, right? We're not investing in that. And that could be a cultural export to the world, right? We could make billions. Nollywood makes billions by exporting Nigerian film. The other thing is, what is it? The music, Nigerian music, is exported. It's become this multi-billion-dollar industry because they know that investing in their creative artists is really, really important. So there's a mention of the creative industries in the arrest agenda for inclusive development, which I thought I was really very, very excited about. The other thing I talked about is the fact that the development agenda has to be Liberian-led and it has to be Liberian-financed. So I was actually quite disappointed when I read the arrest agenda for inclusive development that what the government is proffering is that 30% of this $8 billion over 5 years to fund the arrest agenda comes from the government. 30% is too low. Yeah. We need to do better than that, right? That's a third of the budget for the arrest agenda. We should be coming up with the lion's share. And I know, 35% they said it comes from the foreign direct investment, but the government budget needs to be more than 30% to fund the arrest agenda. And we can't rely on donors. We can't rely on external entities. I mean, we've got a huge Liberian diaspora that's willing to transform the country to contribute. We need to create conditions for that to take place.
This is the OK Conversation on OKFM 99.5. We have with us Dr. Robtel Nije Pele having a high-level conversation about our country, going back to a speech she delivered last year at the independence. You started off on the international front. I want to take you back there.
Sure.
In this paragraph, you said, on the international affairs front, we must not allow foreign financiers to hijack our development process. We cannot and will not build a new Liberia for Liberians if we blindly pander to the World Bank, International Monetary Fund, and their proxies in the United Nations. Expand on that. And have we made progress away from that, or we are still hooked in their clutches?
I think we're still hooked. I think there's a lot of pandering to the international financiers. I mean, you know what? I'm going to be honest and say I get it. I understand. But at the end of the day,
how could we do it differently?
I think there are so many ways to do it differently. And I often reference, I mean, my students are so tired of me hearing about, or they're so tired of me talking about Thomas Sankara, this idea of the fact that he eschewed international aid and said, no, we have to be able to do this on our own. You know, Burkina Faso is a land of upright people, right? They stand on their own 2 feet. You know, they have dignity, right? That's where I would like to see Liberia go. So in terms of the IMF and the World Bank, or a lot of these international financiers, we've already seen the landscape of aid, what's happened in the past 6 months in terms of aid, and not just within the context of USAID, but there are other countries, France, Germany, even where I live, the United Kingdom, that has consistently reduce their aid budgets because they're all now concerned about NATO losing funding from the United States, right? So they have to increase their defense funding and decrease their the percentage of their GDP or GNI that goes towards aid. So as far as I'm concerned, aid is not a viable development strategy. Relying on external financing for something as simple as building a domestic resource base is not a viable development strategy. So we have to figure out how to negotiate. So the late John Magufuli, I always talk about him, even though he was problematic on so many different levels, from Tanzania, the president of Tanzania. When I interacted with him when I worked for the African Development Bank, and I found his approach to be so interesting. So we would sit at a table with John Magufuli in Dodoma, which is now the political capital of Tanzania. And I was working with the African Development Bank president, President Adesina. And President Magufuli said, these are my priorities. If you, the African Development Bank, can't fund this, and this, then you can go. The door is right there. I'd like to see us as a nation stand up to these international financiers, whether they be regional institutions like the African Development Bank or global institutions like the World Bank and the IMF, and negotiate in such a way that we maintain our dignity. Because at the end of the day, these countries all they're interested in is making sure that you have loans, and those loans have to be paid back in very, very high interest rates, right? So we have a role to play in terms of that negotiation process. We shouldn't just, kind of abdicate our responsibility and say, oh, whatever the IMF says or whatever the World Bank says or whatever the donor X says, then we just comply. No, we need to negotiate, and we need to negotiate better and fundamentally understand that aid is not going to transform this country. Liberia's resources, Liberia's people are going to transform these countries, our country.
You spoke about the outsized influence of the United States.
I knew you were going there. Go ahead.
So, does Trump's reshifting of American foreign policy, does it align with what you were saying? Does it place us in a position to say, okay, we have to really see about standing on our 2 feet ourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I talked about the fact that this special relationship that we think we have with the United States, the so-called special relationship, only exists in our imagination. And there have been so many people who've told me that statement was so prophetic, because what's happening in terms of U.S.-Liberia relations now, I hope it's reminded people or proven that what I had to say was true. At the end of the day, there's no special relationship as far as I'm concerned. The U.S. will always look out for its own interests. It's about time that Liberia look out for its own interests without this kind of dream-like quality of our so-called relationship with the United States, because we don't have a special relationship. Right now, I think Liberia is on the verge of even being listed as one of the countries that has a visa ban. And let me say to your listeners, please, that was not because of me. Right? Well, it was not because of my speech. This was a long time coming.
So how do we do it differently? We see the U.S. as perhaps father-son kind of relationship, or
the United States people can't hear their ear.
Yeah. So how do we do it differently? Because given the fact that they are the most influential country on the planet, and they could keep you in their reins in any way that they wanted to, how could you do it differently?
So it's precisely what I said, this idea of looking for strategic partnerships out of that imaginary relationship that we had. And it's not to say we don't engage with the United States. Of course we do, right? You can't exist in the 21st century without engaging with the United States. I'm very, very well aware of that, and I'm not under any sort of illusion that you don't engage with the United States. But you engage with the United States on your own terms, as much as you possibly can, and you look at other strategic relationships, alliances that might work better for you, right? I know a lot of people were saying, oh, she's supporting Liberia's relationship with Russia and China. There are all kinds of commentary around that. When I say strategic relationships, I'm not talking about just China and or Russia. In fact, in many respects, I'm very wary of a potential relationship with Russia, and I'm very wary of getting in China's clutches, right? There are other countries in our continent that we can build strategic relationships with, right? This African free trade area agreement, right? That's a way to build strategic relationships with the continent, right? What is our comparative advantage? What are other countries' comparative advantage? Can we trade with those other countries that have resources that we may not necessarily have, right? Can we build a manufacturing base in such a way that we can export condoms to the West African sub-region, ECOWAS, right? That's what I mean by strategic partnerships. For me, as far as I'm concerned, I'm a Pan-Africanist to the core. So when I talk about strategic partnerships, the first thing that I'm thinking about is our own backyard, ECOWAS. Because the other regions of the continent of Africa, I would say that's where we need to be looking, especially with this AFCFTA trying to get off its feet.
It is believed as a continent we have too much, a whole lot of resources, younger population.
We don't manufacture anything. We always export. We export, we extract. We extract, we export. And we need to really change that, right? So where are the special economic zones that we can build in ECOWAS, right? So what is it? Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire have cocoa. Why are they not involved in the multi-billion-dollar industry that is the chocolate industry? Why are they exporting cocoa and not making chocolate and exporting chocolate? You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we have the resources. It's just a matter of being very strategic in manufacturing those resources in such a way that we are benefiting from the global supply chain. We can't constantly be the exporters of basic commodities. That is not how you grow your revenue.
Her name is Dr. Pele. I'm sure I'll have her here for a part 2. But let's take a few calls. We have just 6 minutes to go, so let's take a few calls on 777-700-995, 555-995-995, the numbers to call, and you will be through. Welcome. Let's hear you.
Good evening, Julius.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Julius, for having me on your platform. I'm CRT Mara Super Junior of the Interlogic Class District 14. Mm-hmm. Let me say good evening to Dr. I strongly one of her support. I admire her influence, her level of education, very young person, and she has achieved so much. I've learned a lot from her, and I think, Julia, the country can actually tap into her knowledge. I haven't read a whole lot essay about her, but just listening to her conversation on the platform, I think what I want to agree with her on is how we can focus on strategizing Liberia foreign relations. I think we need to have something on the table. Our country will have so much, but what is wrong with this country that things cannot get better? I think the president by now, the president should be calling such a person, bringing her on the round table because she has so much to offer to our country at a very young age. Thank you, Julius. At least I have a time to talk with Dr. Pele. I listened to her during the time she was given inauguration. So many backlashes.
Thanks so kindly. Thanks so kindly. Welcome. Let's hear you.
Journalist Julius Jeh. This is journalist Octavian Tucker Williams, former Vice President of the Republic of Liberia. 2 things. I just called to commend the dad in the studio. She is a Pan-Africanist and a revolutionary figure. When you do a background analysis, like I was saying to somebody in this car I'm driving, I said usually people like that they Rastafarians. But there's one advice I like to give her, please. Mm-hmm. Please do me one favor. I take on here on the whole lay feet. Whenever you're approaching us, just reduce the too much series and just the way ordinary Liberian way. So the person is telling the lay make better boy in the market they understand you. I beg you, Mama.
Okay. Thanks so kindly.
Thanks a
lot. Very good feedback. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate
Octavian, that. Dr. Artemus Gay says, Julius, welcome back. Prof. Raptel hits the point. Nation building is the overarching goal of building socio-cultural cohesion, the bedrock of democracy, economic, institutional, infrastructural, and security guarantees. Noam Chomsky indeed is worth reading, as nation building is not just a statecraft issue, but genuinely seeking the common good. I read him from an educational standpoint. He's quite a guy. Let's take this will be the second to last call. Welcome. Let's hear you.
Yeah, how you doing, Julius?
I'm fine. Go ahead.
Mike Fire David here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I like Raphael's stance as a Pan-Africanist, but I actually want to ask her, how does she gauge the African continent's own accession to the West, right? We exceed everything to the West, right? And a case in point is Europe has Russia, France, and Great Britain on the UN Security Council. Africa has none. Africa herself cannot even fight for a seat. But we say fighting that we can say, yeah, Africa, we're going to be a Pan-Africanist, and Africa should collaborate. We should do. She said something about comparative advantage, right? And when really the West, we have comparative advantage as Liberia, especially with iron ore, cocoa, rubber. But we prefer dealing with the West than even an African country. So I just want to know where she stands on that.
Okay, thanks so kindly. Let me squeeze in this one on the international line. Welcome, let's hear you.
Good afternoon, Julius. Frank Gibson, I call from Paris.
Go ahead quickly.
Good afternoon to your guests. Julius, you know, when people talk about Russia, people always feel or think about military. But there are a lot of things countries can get from Russia: expertise in the agriculture sector, in the energy sector. Those are areas where if people actually be in real conversation with the Russian Federation without the interference of the United States. Because the United States always feel that when people align with Russia, it's in the military area. But it's not always the case. Look at Mali, for example. Let's forget about the military aspect. Mali is really growing in the energy sector. That would be one of the energy hub in the entire region. And this is city Russia is trying to bring in Burkina Faso in energy. But people feel that when you talk about Russia, it's military, it's gold, it's weapon. No, it's not always the case.
Okay.
And that's the point.
Thanks so kindly, Frank Gibson. This person says, please ask Dr. Raphael Pele for her overall rating of the government, considering a deep dive into the government's commitment to the people of Liberia, irrespective of 2024 oration. Let's squeeze in the president of the civil servants of
Julius,
Liberia.
I'm going to forget all these questions. I'll try to remember them.
Yeah, that's the final one. Quickly, let's hear you, sir.
Thank you, Julius Jeh. I want to thank the Dad in studio, actually. Dad, you have touched it all. You know, we have to think about nation building. Our leaders, especially the national legislature, officials that there have to work for the country, and the issue that has to do with comparative advantage. Liberia has so many advantages. We have our from the extractive industry, even from the agriculture sector. Liberia is just so blessed with abundant resources. But our leaders have to think about nation. They have to put that nation first before any other. Thank you very much, Raphael.
Okay, thanks so kindly. We go back to her now.
Okay, I think the first caller was talking about the fact that I need to remove some of the series from my mouth. You are absolutely right. I think when I get very passionate about something, the series comes out because that's where I grew up. But you're absolutely right. I'll try to tone down the language and make it more accessible. Another caller talked about the African Union and its place geopolitically, and I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we just gained a 2-year seat, non-permanent seat on the UN Security Council, which I think
they call our seat non-permanent.
It is non-permanent. And I think if you look at the permanent members of the Security Council, they're very, very much the sort of post-World War II kind of relic. And I think if we can use, because I didn't understand the point of us trying to get the non-permanent seat, but if we can use that leverage to advocate for reconfiguring the UN Security Council, I think that's where we really make a case for a country from the continent of Africa being represented on the UN Security Council. Other ways of leveraging the partnership with Africa and making it a bold and strong force within the context of standing on its own 2 feet is because the countries of the continent of Africa, you know, you've got regional powerhouses like Nigeria and West Africa, South Africa and Southern Africa. You've got Kenya and East Africa. Besides those big powerhouses, most countries in the continent of Africa have a very small voice. But if we work through our regional institutions like an ECOWAS or a SADC or an EAC, then we can have a much, much more powerful voice. The other thing that really disappoints me is I think the African Union has completely lost its touch with reality, right? How do we build the institution of the African Union in such a way that it becomes a voice of change within these institutions like the G20 or the UN, and so forth and so on? So I think there's a lot of reckoning that needs to take place within the context of the continent. We need to have an internal reckoning, you know, regionally, in order to really have a voice on the global stage. Because right now, people don't treat us as if they should respect our wishes at all. But that's our own fault, right? Okay. It's our own fault.
Dr. Pele, thanks so kindly for being here. We look forward to another one. But we see you around Independence Time. Will you be orator again?
You know, it's funny. I was at a supermarket yesterday and somebody said, "Oh, you came to blast at the people again." I said, "My not inside 2025." No, I didn't come to do another oration, but I have come to do a series of different engagements. So I'm teaching my course at the University of Liberia, and I've expanded it to AMEU, Stella Marie, UMU. So it's not just UL. I'm also involving all these universities. Okay. I'm also doing a series of different